Good evening, Garden City. I'd like to call to order our City Council budget meeting for Monday, March 16th, 2026 at 6 p.m. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everyone, please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Smith, if you take roll call, please.
Mayor Jacobs?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Dold?
Here.
Councilmember Hughes?
Here.
Councilmember Witt?
Show Councilmember Witt absent and excused.
Councilmember King?
Show Councilmember King absent and excused.
Councilmember Dold?
Here.
Councilmember Karafotis?
Show Councilmember Karafotis absent and excused.
You have a quorum of 4.
Okay. Item 4 is the approval of the agenda. Looking for a motion.
Mayor,
Councilmember Hughes.
I'd like to make a motion to, I don't have, Zach usually says it all the time.
Just approve the agenda.
Approve the agenda dated March 16th, Monday, March 16th, 2026 at 6 p.m.
Support.
Or from Councilmember Dole. Comments from the table? From public? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Okay, item 5 is our budget discussion, considerations, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Gibbons for a quick second.
Yep, thank you, Mayor and Council. Tonight is our second session of department-led budget presentations for the fiscal year 26-27. You'll see a number of departments presented tonight that weren't covered in the first budget meeting. After tonight, it's our goal to complete our draft proposal for the budget and provide it to council at the next regularly scheduled council meeting for consideration by council over the next month. Just encourage council to ask questions tonight, and feel free to follow up with questions later on as you're provided the information.
Okay, thank you, sir. First up tonight is our clerk budget. Clerk, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So tonight, my presentation, we're really going to do about 3 things. We're going to kind of go over who we are in the clerk's department. We're going to look at what we did over the last year, because I think a lot of going forward is seeing where we were and what we've accomplished over the last 12 months. And then we're going to kind of talk about our plan going forward for this coming budget year. So first off, in the clerk department, who we are, currently we have 2 full-time employees in office, which is myself as city clerk and Lisa Bradford, who is our office manager. We also have 1 part-time floater in Deanna. She floats between, her base of operations is in the clerk's office, but she also floats between us, water, and tax and assessing. She's kind of our Jill of all trades, I guess you would say. She goes wherever she's needed on any given day. Sometimes even where she plans on being one day has changed over the course of the morning. So we really appreciate her flexibility for that. You will notice in our number sheets there, we do have a line item for election specialists for this year. For the last 5 months, our deputy clerk has kind of been over at Radcliffe, assisting with communications and Parks and Rec, helping them implement some new programs and things like that. So in his absence, what we've done is we have a plan for 2 experienced former clerk's office staff members from back in the day to come in and help us through election, because we are about 8 weeks away from really ramping up for the 2026 election cycle. This will allow Lisa and Deanna to continue to help focus on our day-to-day activities in the clerk's office and allow our part-timers to help me with election-related activities. They will have flexible hours depending on the workload. As we get closer to election, the hours will increase, but it's kind of going to be an as-we-go process to see how much work we have, and we'll work our schedule around that. What I want to talk about is our 2025 year in review. One of the things that our clerk's office has that several others around us may not have is because we have Garden City Hospital, we process vital records here, so our residents can get their records here. They don't have to go down to the county. Last year, we actually had over 1,000 requests for birth records purchased. That is consistent with year to year. We were about 10 more than in 2024. Our death certificates, we had 425 individuals who passed away inside the Garden City limits. Those death records are filed with our office and kept as our record, and then they're available for purchase from us. 2025, this was the first year we saw an increase in records filed since the height of COVID in 2020. We had seen kind of a steady decline since 2020, where we peaked at almost 700 records filed. 2024, we were down in the 300s, and then last year, we saw a spike for some reason up into the 400s. So far in Q1 this year, we are trending about 30 behind where we were last year. So that's good. We never really want to see tons of death records get filed with us, but we are seeing a slight decrease again this year. Vital records, the processing is not for nothing. We did generate about $42,000 in revenue last year just from the sale of birth and death records. So we also do licenses, permits, and garage sales. We had 618 animal licenses last year, which is approximately about $12,000 in revenue through our licensing of dogs, and 500 business license transactions. So the 500, we say transactions because that includes both our renewals. We send out renewals to about 470 businesses every year. Also delinquent collections from prior years, and we had 49 new businesses last year. We did 190 garage sale permits, which brought in about $1,200 in revenue, which the way I kind of look at that is like it's $1,200 may not seem a lot, but that does also, offset the cost of one of our shred days. So that's helpful. We did do our 3rd annual fee-free citywide garage sale last June, and if anyone watching at home tuned in last week, they will know that we are having our 4th annual fee-free garage sale this year from June 4th to June 7th, and this will be an ongoing thing the first full weekend of every June. The clerk's office is also responsible for processing FOIA requests. This was our largest increase in transactions over the last year. We had over 100 more requests. Freedom of Information Act, a lot of people, it's good, it encourages transparency. A lot of people do also like to get police reports on themselves or others, and we did see a 44.4% increase on the amount of requests we got. We do extensive ones, there is a fee for. We do provide many of them that are shorter requests free of charge. We are hoping that these numbers will either level off or they don't hit a point where we get so many that becomes untenable to continue without charging for everyone. We also did 23 bid openings last year. We did a lot of bids for the fire station, Radcliffe Center, DDA, some parking restriping, and a alleyway repaving, as well as our DPW yearly bids that we put out for various road projects. City Council last year, we had 30 meetings. Council made 214 motions and passed 14 ordinances last year, so a few more ordinances than in the prior year. And we also did 110 pages of minutes. I actually went back and looked. We did 111 pages the year before, so I attribute that to maybe I had fewer spaces between lines. The clerk's office also coordinates our community shred day. We had 2 community shred days in 2025. We had a spring one at the Radcliffe Center and our fall one here at our traditional City Hall site. The shred days, in addition to being a free service that we provide for residents to shred their private documents, we also use that as a fundraiser for the food pantry. We take back prescription drugs, and we also do the Cram the Cruiser school supply drive. I'm proud to announce, I've always said, I wanted to bring 2 shred days back a year. We get tons of calls all throughout the year. Hey, when's the shredder gonna be on site again? So this year we are doing 2 shred days. They will be Saturday, June 6th, and Saturday, September 12th, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., and both locations will be here at the normal City Hall location. One of the other projects, side projects we had last year was I was able to secure grant funding through the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks. They had funding available from the state to improve ADA accessibility at our polling locations. And since we use the police department as our early voting site, as well as Precinct 9 on Election Day, that qualified. So at no cost to the city, we were able to take the crumbling access sidewalk leading into the building, and we got a brand-new sidewalk there at no cost to the city. The grant required no city matching. It was minimal paperwork, so it was a nice little project that we were able to do just with not a whole lot of involvement. I want to talk about a little bit about the education and training that we do throughout our office. In front of you there is a list of the various trainings that we've done. I think there probably might be a couple more, but when I sat down and thought about it, our office, we utilize a lot of in-person training and off-site training, but we also, through the Michigan Elections e-learning center, we have a lot of web-based kind of go-at-your-own-pace training options. In 2025, I completed every 2 years as a certified clerk. We have to complete a accreditation continuing education. So that was a 16-hour web-based training. So that was completed. We also go to 2 member education days a year for the Michigan Association for Municipal Clerks. This is nice because we get to gather and we get to hear legislative updates from the Bureau of Elections as well as the leadership on the clerk board. As you know, elections, a lot of talk in the news. It's always nice to go and hear from the state themselves. Hey, this is what's happening. These are changes that may be coming. These are changes that have occurred, and this is what it affects us and what we do in the clerk's office. We also go to quarterly meetings for the Association of Wayne County Clerks, which is nice, kind of a little think tank group. We can put our heads together. Even at the very least, it's networking. When Election Day rolls around and we need one more ballot bag or anything like that, it's like, oh, no, we can fall back on our connections we made and work with our co-clerks. I've also, last year, went to a Michigan Department of Health and Human Services quarterly trainings. These used to just be web Zoom-based, but last year they opened it up and they said, oh, come on in person. The neatest thing about doing the in-person training, other than actually meeting the people you talk to on the phone when you call about vital records questions, is they gave us tours of the vaults in Lansing, where every birth record is kept for statewide, and you just see rows and rows of this climate-controlled room. So that was really kind of neat. Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority training sessions. I was just at one last week on cybersecurity and AI for management. So these are free trainings that they put together for us to just kind of help us go over things that could help minimize our liability for things in the future. And also last week, I was at the Bureau of Elections Train the Trainer election staff class. And that is required of us every 2 years so we can be certified to train our election staff for the upcoming year. So this is just a few of the education and training programs we do. One new thing that I've not yet done, but I want to do for 2026 is attend the Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks Masters Academy. What this is this is a supplemental training session to your initial accreditation. So to get your MI certified Michigan Municipal Clerk certification, it's originally a 3-year, 1 week a year, 40 hours a week program. Once you go through that, then you're eligible to go to the Masters Academy. What this is it's kind of, right now I'm a certified municipal clerk. By going to Masters Academy, you earn points for each of these things where you kind of level up your clerk status, if you will, a little bit. So I had completed my initial one a couple years ago. The scheduling just hasn't worked out to go to Masters, but I believe it will work this year. So we do have funds that I put in the budget to attend that. So that's kind of our year in review. So that kind of leads us to where we're going forward this year. So going forward, I've identified a couple reduction possibilities in our revenue and a couple projected growth opportunities that we could see. Our projected reduction possibilities would be with animal licensing. Animal licenses, it really, I can't stress enough, when we do have animal control enforcement out on the streets, we do see an increase in licensing. When we're not seeing the unlicensed dogs, we're, not getting the revenue from that. So depending on our enforcement levels, that can affect our animal licensing. Also, birth and death records. We have what we always refer to as the school enrollment bump. So every year between mid-July and mid-September, we see a large jump in requests for birth records. Because every year we see kids getting ready to go off to school for the first time. Mom and dad realize, oh, I don't know where the birth record is, or I never got the original one. I have to go get one. So we'll see, a steady request thing, and then we hit July, and it spikes, July through September. We're about 2 years away from no longer having that anymore because Garden City Hospital no longer has the birthing center. So we're just at the point where the last babies born at a regular pace at Garden City Hospital are going to be entering school for the first time. So come after 2027, we'll still be consistent, but we won't see that extra bump that we get from the first-time licensings being issued. Projected growth opportunities, business licenses. This is one of those things that's kind of driven by our developing of our vacant locations and bringing new business and new business investments here into the city. So working together closely with community development to get those businesses in here and help them not only open, but stay open and continue to thrive so we don't have that vacancies will help us. Also, in terms of our delinquent enforcement, I really hope this year that we are more on top of, we've always kind of taken it's late, but we penalize, and then once we max out, then we start enforcement. I want to start enforcement sooner, so then we can clearly identify which businesses are still here, and if they're still here, we get them paid and current, or if they're gone, we can take that off the books, so we aren't saying, oh, well, we still have this much that we can bring in. We'll at least know we'll have cleaner records of what we can expect to generate. Another growth opportunity would be with grant opportunities. With it being an election year, it's going to be a busy year, but like I mentioned, I kind of showcased that Michigan Association of Municipal Clerks one was not super labor intensive in applying and getting that. So I really would like to, when I have time, to do targeted, smaller, not necessarily swinging for that grand slam, because if we hit 4 or 5 singles, that's still something that we can get. So smaller targeted grant ones that don't require city match, things like that we can just, hang our hats on, 5,000 here, 5,000 there throughout. So that's what I would like to look into as we go through. I know at the Michigan Municipal Risk Management training last week, they did mention they've got some for cybersecurity, for improving multi-factor authentication through a lot of city systems. So that might be a smaller one that we could still get, but still do a lot of benefit to the city. Talk about election revenues. We get election revenue from 2 sources. We get it from state grants and also reimbursement from the county. We do have some potential early election revenues for this coming season. Early voting staffing reimbursement for the August and November elections coming up, which was really nice when we ran the numbers on that, because the state, because that was voted in by the voters, and we're constitutionally required to have that early voting for every federal election there, we have to run it 9 days, has to be open 8 hours a day, which it's never just 8 hours because you have your opening, you have your closing. So for us to staff that efficiently last year, it cost roughly $18,000. However, we are reimbursed up to $15 an hour for our staff over there. So we were able to get reimbursed $17,438. So we processed over 3,000 voters across the elections in 2024, and out of city monies, it only cost us $581 to run that center. So we are pleased with that. And then also, there may be election equipment upgrade grant funding available. Like I said, this is all contingent upon availability of state and local funds, which we hope we'll be able to access, but nothing is really guaranteed with that until the budget's finalized. And that's going to lead me into my next thing that I want to talk about is our voting system, the voting equipment upgrades. So the statewide voting equipment contracts expire in February of 2027. So it's gone out for bid right now for proposals to be submitted. The county and state will look at them and evaluate them, and then they will make their recommendation. Garden City doesn't have the ability to choose their own system that they use. We go with whatever Wayne County uses because it's a uniform system throughout the county. They hope to have contracts in place by December. There is funding for these updated infrastructure currently in the first proposed state budget for this year. However, we know the state budget's still very much in its early stages. Unfortunately, as much as I don't like it, elections have kind of become a political football when it comes to budgeting, things like that. And that's what I really want to stress is anything election related, election infrastructure, this is where we can't cut corners. And it shouldn't be a political thing because elections really are the forefront and cornerstone of our democracy. So I'm hoping what is budgeted in the initial state budget stays in there and we don't have to make an adjustment. But they are estimating cost of upgrading to be about $15,000 per precinct. We run 10 precincts, we run 2 absentee counting boards, and we run an early voting center. If for some reason the funding was not there, we would have, this would have to be looked at as a capital improvement for next year. But I'm hoping I'm hoping Lansing sees elections the same way we see it here at the local level and their importance, and knowing that if we have to upgrade, if you have to cut something from the budget, don't do it off of elections. Speaking of elections, we do have 2 elections in 2026. We have our primary election in August and our general in November. This is the first midterm election cycle with that required early voting, so I'm anxious to see just how many people turn out for the early voting. I kind of put our numbers in there from 24, which we should expect it to be a little bit lower because the president's not on the ballot, but it's just neat to see how we went from 232 people the first time we did early voting to we actually dropped in August to 140, and then November came and we exploded to over 3,200 voters in the 9 days over there. But voters, everything I heard, they liked it. They liked that they could go vote in person, use the tabulator, but they didn't have to worry about where they were going to be on election day. They had a 9-day window to come in and do the voting. Our voter turnout for the presidential election was almost 70%. It's the highest it's been in decades. Say what you will about the current political climate, people are very motivated and they are very passionate about voting. So I would have liked to see that at 70, but I'll take the 69.37. We're going to train 80+ election inspectors for this year. What I want to do this year, in addition to our normal pre-election lecture kind of training, some of my more experienced staff members who would be more of a leadership role in the precincts, bring them in for kind of some specialized training on the poll books, on the tabulators, so they can get really familiar with everything that they may encounter on election day. Continued cost-saving measures, because I'm going to bring this up probably every budget presentation for as long as I'm here. When you look at the cost to run an election, just know that our biggest saving that we've had in the past 7 to 10 years was when we switched from the odd year off elections to the even year elections. Because if you look at the cost and be like, oh, we're paying, $30,000 just in staff to run each election, just know that if we didn't have that switch over, we would be doing that every year. So at least this way, we're going to have the elections for state and federal levels here, so we might as well just do it once instead of having every year this expense. That isn't to say we're just going to rest on our laurels and be like, oh, we do this now. We're not going to try to save money anywhere else. Future cost-saving opportunities, we have a permanent ballot list now, which a lot of people associate just with absentee voting. My PSA to the public would be, put yourself on the permanent ballot list, and what will happen is every election, 40 days before, you will be mailed a ballot. You do not have to vote that absentee. If you like to vote in your precinct on election day, you can take that ballot, you can vote it at home, you can bring it with you, put it in the tabulator. You can take it to early voting. But for every voter who we have on that permanent ballot list, if they are on the permanent absentee application list, that's one less application we don't have to pay to send out, because they will get that ballot. So if you always vote absentee and you just want that ballot sent, put yourself on the list, and that way you know, when's my ballot coming? 40 days before the election, every election. The other thing that I looked at doing for this year, it wasn't really cost prohibitive, work out cost-wise, is precinct consolidation. With the early voting, if more people are taking advantage of that and absentee voting, we do not have as many people at the polls on election day. A lot of jurisdictions have condensed and consolidated some of their precincts. What I'm looking to do is the precincts that currently have 2 precincts in one location, at Memorial School, Lathers School, and Farmington. I was drawing a blank there. To consolidate those to go from 2 precincts in each building to 1. So every voter would still vote at the same location they go to. It would just be 1 precinct, so only 1 table. There is a lot of geo-mapping and notifications that were required to go with that. I kind of brought it up to the county at one meeting and talked about it, and what we came away with was it might be best to just wait till 2030 when they do the next redistricting, because we don't want to redraw our precinct lines or anything like that 2 years before we redistrict in case they change. But if 2030, if it's intact, what we can do is we have to send out notifications with the redistricting. We could use that to kind of piggyback the consolidation on that. Cuts down on precincts, cuts down on equipment, cuts down on staff, cuts down on testing. So it should save us eventually if we can do that option. Costs for our 2026 election cycle, you'll notice on those sheets, if you're looking at what was used in the line items so far this year, there's a lot of zeros, just because we haven't got to that part of the budget year yet where we're going to be using that. So we're kind of going to use as much of what's budgeted in there for our absentee ballot applications, ballot postage, supply replacement, public notices. A lot of the stuff for the August election will happen actually in this fiscal year. So we'll use what was budgeted for this year, and then there's a little bit less for next year. A couple other expenditure accounts notices for election-related stuff. To kind of help us see how we spend our election funds, previously we kind of had an election supply line item that was just kind of a catch-all. Like any election expenses, yep, we're just going to pay for it out of here. But it doesn't really paint a clear picture of, are we spending this money well? Are we spending it efficiently? So we've kind of broken it off into several different line items. We've got one for equipment maintenance to cover outside things that aren't covered under our maintenance contract. So like our voter assist terminal, ADA compliant devices, the sip and puff, the audio-visual aids, things like that. Those aren't covered under our standard maintenance, so if we have to replace that, we can take it out of there. Maintenance contracts, that is just the standard to make sure we have support for any equipment issues or upgrades that need to be done between elections, and also our contractual professional to cover our testing, the testing of the equipment before we get to election day. For our clerk's office expenditures, I feel last year we did a really deep dive line item by line item to cut where we could everything. So a lot of our numbers are very similar to what they were in 25, 26. A couple quick notes is I did combine the meeting, conferences, and workshops line item with the education and training line item. So we're kind of phasing out that meetings conference, because our office isn't going to go to meeting, conferences, or workshops that aren't educational or we don't get some benefit out of. So we put that all into one. The legal publications line item, that kind of fluctuates based on what we do here at council in terms of ordinances and making sure we're compliant with our publications on that. I kind of mentioned we did more ordinances last year than we did the year before, so that's what caused the cost. You know, when we do more ordinances and things like that, costs rise for that. And also our membership and dues line item, I did half what we had budgeted for it last year. We didn't fully use it. I really, so kind of with the meetings and conferences, if we're not getting benefit from it, I don't see the benefit of being a part of it. So we're gonna, make sure that we maximize our value for what we spend on that. And then our increase in personnel costs are kind of set by the contractual 3% increase. And with that, I will turn it over to you guys if you have any questions or comments.
Council, anybody, questions, comments?
I have a question. I'm not so sure if it's for you, Mr. Smith, or if it's for the city manager. It was my understanding when we moved Jacob over to Parks and Rec that he was going to come back and help with elections.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping him from continuing to do so. We can reallocate him if we need to. But we recently inquired with two of our former employees of the clerk's office, both who are retired, very, very experienced at Garden City elections, and saw a great opportunity to pay them part-time money to come back and really help us make sure we can deliver safe and effective elections, and to add that stability that they provided for a number of years. So, there's nothing stopping us from allowing Jake to help, but at the same time, now that we've moved to every 2 years, really about a 6-month period in which we have to do elections every 2 years, having two people willing to, and based on our initial conversations with them, to repeat coming back cyclically for 6 months at a time and help us get through these elections. Really, one, adds a very affordable manner instead of staffing up just for every 6 months out of every 2 years for elections, having to maintain an employee for the whole 2 years. We're going to see if we can strategically add two people who give us, one, experience and competence at it, but also affordability that goes with conducting the elections. So, again, when it comes to elections, it's all hands on deck. Whatever we find we need, we bring to the table. But it's one of those things that hang out there that, wow, if we go down one person, we're really in trouble for elections. So what we're trying to do is develop a plan to really make sure, almost no matter what, we can participate effectively in the democratic process in Garden City. So.
I have a question. It's not really budget, but since we're having 2 shred days, have we thought about ever doing one at Radcliffe at all?
We did, like I said, we did do the Radcliffe one last year over there, which there was nothing bad about the one that we did at Radcliffe. Just what I kind of heard afterwards is people were like, I didn't really know where to go. I'm not as familiar with it. I think because we've done it here so long, like people, they know where they're coming in off of Central. They are, they're used to it. And then we didn't necessarily, when we scheduled at Radcliffe last year, we didn't know that there was soccer games going on at the soccer fields right there, so it threw us off a little bit when we set up, and the first car rolled in, and I was like, you got shred? And they're like, no, we're here to park for the soccer games, so. But, we didn't have any issues with it being a Radcliffe, but I just think people are just used to the setup
Or
that we have
comfortable?
here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Further comments from table?
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
with all the cutbacks we've had to done throughout the departments, are you comfortable with the employees you have, that you can still provide the high quality that you have in the past?
I'm never going to say no. I would turn down more staffing. I think we're at a good point where we're going to try what we're doing this with the part-time election specialist. The clerk's office, we always kind of try to pride ourselves on doing more with less. Like, how well can we do this? And There are some days where it's like, okay, staffing does become a little bit of an issue, just if I'm not there or our one full-time person's not there. If our floater is a 4-day-a-week position right now, so if it's a Friday and they're not there and my one full-time's not there, department head just kind of runs the department, but I'd like to see how this works. I'd like to give it a shot with the election specialist, but I would not say, oh, in the future, if we're in a better financial situation, don't try to give me anybody else, because we will always, especially if the FOIAs continue like they are, they are a little time consuming.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Go ahead, Councilmember Dole.
Just wondering if we're going to find money in the budget to get him a new nameplate that's going to say Master Clerk Smith.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
That, we're building that into the training budget. It's the assumed, well, and it'll have an asterisk and everything. It'll be great.
Thank you for all the training you do, though.
Further comments from the table? Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Very good. Okay, next up is our city treasurer, Ms. Shannon Shepherd.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. That's a tough act to follow. I don't know that I can beat that, but I'll do my best. So tonight, I'm going to present just a brief overview of the 26-27 budget. A lot of the stuff Tim had touched on a little bit in the presentation from a couple weeks ago. I'm just going to delve a little deeper into some of those topics. So first, I'm basically just going to focus on the major components that kind of shaped the budget. I'll start with our major revenue sources, discuss the water and sewer fund, healthcare cost pressures, and then just kind of some of the broader financial factors that, like I said, helped shape the budget. So the city's revenue comes from multiple different sources. It goes to different funds. For the general fund, our primary revenue source is property taxes, state shared revenue, and various other charges and services. And then we also have revenues that are restricted to specific funds. Specifically, the water and sewer revenues support the utility system, and then our Act 51 revenues support our major and local roads. As I'm sure you guys know, property taxes are the city's largest revenue source. According to the assessor's report, the total assessed value increased about 4.6%, but the state inflation rate multiplier is only 2.7%. And so, as you know, under the Headley Amendment, the taxable value can only increase at the rate of inflation or 5%, whichever is lower. So we're only able to increase that by 2.7%. However, when a property does change ownership, the taxable value resets to the current market value, so there is a way to kind of recapture some of that, I don't want to say lost value, but some of that value that we weren't able to capture. That's typically called uncapping. State shared revenue is another important general fund revenue source. These distributions are partially based on state sales tax collections. As you can see from the chart here, or maybe you can't see because it's a little small, the state's forecasting lower sales tax revenue, which results in about a 1.8% decrease in Garden City's share of those distributions. The city currently has around $22 million in various investments. We maintain a conservative and diversified investment strategy. We focus on safety, liquidity, and reasonable returns. Our portfolio includes CDs with a local credit union. We have some short-term commercial paper, and the majority is in our participation in the Michigan Class Investment Pool. Over the last few years, we've had some higher interest rates, and that helped increase our investment earnings. However, as the rates begin to decline from those recent highs, we do expect our investment earnings to slightly decrease on that as well. Just to kind of paint a picture of that, about a year ago, we were getting rates above 4.5%. And then I just checked Michigan Class this morning, which typically provides the best returns, and we're at 3.7. So we're like almost a whole percentage down in less than a year. So I'm going to move on to the Water and Sewer Fund. It operates as an enterprise fund, just meaning that it has to be self-supporting. Most revenues come from user charges, and those revenues have to cover the costs of operating and maintaining the system. Our major expenses in the Water and Sewer Fund are personnel, wholesale water costs, sewer treatment services, system maintenance, and infrastructure improvements. The city purchases water from Great Lakes Water Authority, and our sewer treatment services are provided by Rouge Valley. We are projecting to add to the Water and Sewer Fund this year. However, keep in mind that the fund does still owe the general fund a debt based on the prior year's subsidy, basically. The plan is to pay back $1 million this year and then incrementally over the next 4 years. One of the primary cost drivers in the Water and Sewer Fund is the wholesale water that we purchase from GLWA. So I want to kind of discuss their cost increases and how we plan to respond to that. GLWA is increasing both their fixed monthly charge and the commodity rate. The fixed charge is going up about 6.3%, and the commodity rate is going up just over 7%. In response, we plan to continue to follow the strategy that was approved by council based on the water rate study that was done last year. And essentially, rather than matching the large fluctuations in the wholesale costs, we just plan to implement an annual 5% increase on the commodity rate. And this year, there is no plan to increase the fixed charge, so that will stay stagnant. This approach helps smooth out the rate changes, and it provides a more predictable cost for the residents. And based on the activity this year, since we will have a fund balance, the strategy seems to be working as intended, so that's good. Another major cost pressure in the budget this year is health insurance. We're currently expecting about a 30% increase, which translates into about $1.2 million. Typically, those increases are driven by like rising national medical and pharmaceutical costs, claims utilization, and adjustments within the insurance market. And since personnel costs represent a large portion of the city's expenses, increases in healthcare have a pretty significant impact on the budget. And since these costs affect every department, we're continuing to evaluate the long-term strategy for managing all of our benefit costs. So we kind of looked at all of these factors individually, just kind of wanted to bring them all together as a whole and see how they are all affecting the budget. The main drivers are the health insurance cost increase, the water rate increases, decreases in state shared revenue, the Headley limitations on our property tax growth, and declining interest rates. Having said all that, while there are several of these cost pressures influencing the budget, the proposed budget reflects proactive planning to address these factors. So to kind of sum it all up, our property values do remain strong, although growth is a little bit limited by the Headley Amendment. But at the same time, the rising healthcare and water costs remain key budget drivers. But despite these challenges, we're continuing to prioritize conservative financial management. And lastly, I just want to emphasize that the proposed budget reflects proactive planning to maintain the essential services for the community. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, council, questions or comments for the treasurer? Member Hughes.
Thanks for coming. I want to reiterate what you said, that when we set out our plan to try to get ahead of the needed funds to go back to the general fund from the water part, was that, that was all part of the plan, that
exactly.
And so this plan seems like it appears to be doing exactly what we thought.
Yes.
So
Yep,
we don't see huge fluctuations in
right,
price, in increases when
exactly.
Great Lake Water sends us a
Yep,
big increase like this.
And if I could just add, this really became apparent to me that this concept of smoothing out, doing increases in a steady fashion, had we increased our water rates from 2017 to last year, we would have just had another 5% increase last year, as opposed to the drastic change we had. Now, over that time, rates would have increased, but steadily in a manageable fashion. So our real goal here with the water fund is just to offer consistent stability. And yes, our plan is to rise at about 5%. You know, certainly, whenever we didn't have to, we wouldn't. But as you can see with Great Lakes Water Authority and some other pressures that, you know, things don't tend to get cheaper, and just inflation alone tends to drive increases. But this is evident that GLWA had a greater increase in their water rates than we're going to provide to our residents. And that was the impetus behind the rip the Band-Aid off that Plant Moran suggested during their fling, was just get set again so then you can smooth rates out into the future. And I really, just as a concept, smoothing, and I wish healthcare could get on the same plan, is to smooth our healthcare increases. So one thing we're facing, as the treasurer stated, is a 30% increase this year, where we've had to kind of scramble and find another $1 million in the way we do our, and how much we have to spend all next year just based on healthcare costs. And those costs are happening across the board throughout the region. You know, we've spoke to our healthcare reps, and we're not the only ones experiencing these kind of increases. I've spoke to other municipalities. So, you know, at the very least, the things we can control to keep smooth for our residents, to give consistent efforts in our water system, but a consistent price, translate pretty well. We're only 1 year in, and it already is kind of, okay, this is the right plan. So.
Mayor,
Further comments from, or questions from the table?
Mayor,
Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
I'd like to kind of piggyback on what city manager was saying about the projected 30% increase. Is that normal annually?
no. It's not normal.
It's not. It's an indication. You know, we talked to our, we have a company called Gallagher who negotiates our healthcare rates and works to give us the most effective cost, and works with us into injury to get delivery of this service. They stated that Blue Cross Blue Shield, for example, had a tremendous monetary loss in the last year, and healthcare costs are just on a rise across the state. We had some higher claims usage, but nothing out of control that would have caused a 30% increase. It's really just par for the course for all of Southeast Michigan. There seems to be an adjustment in healthcare costs where the insurers are catching up to costs they saw in the previous years. So we're investigating all options, but right now we're baking in that 30% increase to make sure that we can afford everything we have right now next year.
Thank you.
Further comments or questions from the table? No further? Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
And Council, if I could just real quick add, that the slide she had where Garden City property values went up 4.7%, and we are only able to capture, because of inflation, 2.7% of that. And it's just, I don't know if you recall in the first meeting when and I've showed it a number of times because it really is the crux of our financing issue, is taxable value. We're doing a great job of making Garden City, adding value to Garden City, making it a great place to call home. And with those increased property values, expectations get higher. But we're unable to generate the revenues necessary to keep up with that. Like I've always said, great for the homeowner who lives here and lives here for the 30 years, but tough for us to keep up. And just understand that's the constraint. So when we rearrange personnel across departments and try and be as efficient as we can, it's because we're constantly facing that pressure of a 30% increase, and we can't even catch up with the value we've added to the property. So it's just, you know, the dilemma of a Michigan municipality in the environment. But we do pretty good, and it's kudos to our employees to continue this.
Okay, next up is our Community Development Department, Building Planning DDA, and since Mr. Miller cannot attend, Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Yes, as Council is aware, Mr. Miller is out of state dealing with a family issue. So I'm going to be covering his presentation this evening. But also as Council is aware, Mr. Miller has indicated that in the fall he intends to retire from local government. So we are actively in the very, very difficult job of finding someone who can wear all the hats he does. And as I talk about, and as he was going over his presentation with me today, I realized what a hurdle that is. So we will work diligently to do that. But just think Matt does a wonderful job, and he's going to be tough to replace. But glad to be doing this tonight because I get to talk about the good things he does in his department. So what is the Community Development Department? It is a sort of a jack of all trades. It administrates our building department, our planning division, and through a contract with the DDA, also functions as the administration for the Downtown Development Authority. Engages in residential, business, and industrial development, something needed in our town if you're going to compete with other communities for businesses and residents. You need to have good, solid community development that improves your town, your community over time. Neighborhood stabilization program. This is a program where we have the right of first refusal to purchase homes that have become tax foreclosed, and then what we can do is use that program to acquire those homes and transfer them to a developer to greatly improve the quality of housing stock we have in Garden City or properties. Also, they oversee the Property Maintenance Board of Appeals, which deals with dangerous buildings and oversees the maintenance of our housing stock through dealing with problem properties, and especially those subject to condemnation. And lastly, really became evident the importance of a community development department was with grants, particularly with the sidewalk grant. The Community Development Department administrates that grant because it is a combination of many departments that have to go together. The Community Development Department is perfectly situated to administrate it. Also, with the talents of our current Community Development Director, he's excellent at pursuing grants, which are street lighting grant, 2 separate street lighting grants that are going to provide a significant amount of LED lighting switchovers is administrative through there. And housing and safe streets, and we're having an amendment to our master plan currently being carried out, all through grants obtained through the Community Development Department. Its administration is set up, a little bit of a tough one to read off of the TV, but ultimately it just shows you all the different areas it touches. The Community Development Director, Matt Miller, is responsible for seeing to the Planning Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, Property Maintenance Board of Appeals, and the DDA. Planning, Building Department, and Downtown Development Authority with various employees under each. While we do have employees in the Building Department, those employees, we have a 1.6 FTE worth of employees, so it is one full, one part-time employee in our Building Department that's actually employed by the city. The rest is through Bucelli, who we contract with to provide our inspection and other building department services. So the Community Development Director oversees that. In 2025, we saw some significant upticks and some minor decreases, but generally all upticks in our building department activity. 2,084 permits issued, that's 1.5%. 5,162 permit inspections, that's almost an 8% increase. Our mechanical, electric, and plumbing inspections vary, but electrical significant increase. We saw 63 more signed permits, and we saw 29 new vacant registered properties. This is a good combination between our community development division and our ordinance department, and Kelly Kovacs over there, who work together with our building department to locate, identify vacant properties, get them inspected, and bring them up to the minimum requirements of our vacant buildings. It's something that we really focused hard on when we, if you recall, when we employed the rental oversight over at the ordinance department. I called them the rental czar, but also they're the vacant properties are. They need to focus on those 2 types of properties, make sure they're registered per ordinance, and make sure they are maintaining basic minimum standards. Some more numbers. Commercial C of Os down a little bit, but a significant amount of residential C of Os. 376 though rental certifications. So 437 residential, but 376 rental certifications means inspectors went out and inspected the property, and they met minimum standards for being a resident that's allowed for rentals in Garden City. That is something I've talked about as a police chief, as a city manager, and that the Community Development Department has a heck of a good hand in, is just making sure that if you're renting a home in Garden City, you're providing a great place to live that doesn't have a negative impact on our neighbors. And rental certification process is important for that. C of O inspections are up 3%. We had one neighborhood stabilization property and one dangerous building. Dangerous building means it's basically a condemnable property, and we're working to make it not needed to be in condemnation. And another excellent thing that's occurred is the move to online permits. You know, we're living in a society today where people don't necessarily want to drive up to the building department and work on getting their permits. They want to be able to go online. They want to be able to automate and make these things happen faster. What that helps with is compliance. The easier you make it for people to comply, the more likely they are. The building department, through the community development leadership, has moved in that direction quite well. 75% increase in online permits and a 42% in online inspection requests. So doing a great job of using automation to be more efficient and more effective. Graph just shows the permits between 24 and 25, where we've risen, where we've fallen a little bit. But if you'll notice, you know, the oranges this year, we're rising more than we're falling. So the work is there, the development is good. Garden City is a town that's pretty much built out. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of opportunity for new development, but we don't have big swaths of farmland, so we don't see huge increases to these things. But the steady work we have is indicative of a town that is doing good work in developing and keeping its properties on the rise, and doing the work of regulating those properties that need it. The Planning Division, 8 Planning Commissions meetings this year, 2 Zoning Board of Appeals, 650 zoning inquiries. This is something that I was glad to see tracked. Both Mario and Matt both track how many zoning inquiries. And the amount of time someone's calling about, hey, can I do this on a property, is a good sign for us. It means someone's asking the question about, you know, am I allowed to do this on this piece of property which I've either acquired or want to inquire. Inquire about something you want to acquire. And I like that kind of data. It gives us an indication. If more people are calling about zoning issues, that means there's more people worrying about doing something new or, you know, improving a property. I think it's a derivable thing from that stat. So kind of neat that they're acquiring that. And as they collect this data, we'll be able to look back into the past and see how we're doing. You know, the more people are talking about the properties in Garden City, probably the better we are. There's 2 batches of zoning amendments under consideration, 8 site plans, and 1 special land use. Also, we're doing a certificate of occupancy use statement for every business, meaning we're going to ask you what we're going to approve you to do a certain activity at a business. And then we're going to have a statement that you're signing that this is what I'll be doing at that business, so that when people deviate for it, we have their own signed admission that this was what our intended use for this property was. And when they don't, well, it gives us the opportunity to enforce our rules with their knowledge that they signed off on. This is what I was using it for. Matt and I both, you know, have found that handy, both in being able to verify that was an approved use when someone's doing something that's questioned, but also to go back and hold those owners accountable to say, hey, you said this is all you were doing. You've signed it right here. We're going to hold you accountable. So just an excellent way to proceed. Building department budget highlights. Basically, at the end of the day, you're paying about $129,446 for a building department. Pretty efficient. Like I said, we're not one of those cities that is building so much that we're going to see a tremendous amount of revenue from building departments, because, you know, it's just not a ton of new construction, but at the same time, we're steady. Our contractual services are priced reasonably. Our salaries are within budget. And our expenditures for the level of service we're getting is pretty good. Our planning division, the same, paying about $84,000 for planning services. You know, mostly done through contract and offset slightly by the revenue. Next up, community development, as I said before, is contracted to administer the Downtown Development Authority. This means handling Board of Trustees meetings, Lucky Squirrel events, Christmas tree lightings, light pole, flower baskets, common flowers, streetscape maintenance, hometown hero banners, 2025 business incentive grants, and some parking improvements and alleyway improvements to improve the appearance and travelability and parking in our downtown area, which, you know, can hopefully only better support those businesses down there. One of the things most recently, utilized, Matt had contacted SEMCOG to get some data out about how many people visited our chili cook-off community event. Turns out, cell phone companies, you can, SEMCOG through an application can get data about how many visits we had of cell phones essentially to the downtown development area during the course of the chili cook-off. So we found out 5,000 people visited. The data is really neat. It can even bore down to where did they come from? You know, we found out that they came, some phones came from out of state that came to our downtown, and a lot from our area, but very neat to see. And it helps emphasize the importance of these type of events and the value they have to the downtown area, because they bring people in. They can see our businesses, they can see the quality of Garden City. And it does two things. One, it brings people in, but two, can only inspire us to advertise even better in the future. So an excellent job they did there, and I thought that data was pretty informative. The DDA budget, it's already been passed. They've done a good job of utilizing their revenues to improve the downtown area, but also to start to begin to build up that fund balance to do the next capital project that might be needed to improve our downtown area. They're up to $906,000 by the end of 26-27 is anticipated. So they're operating within budget efficiently with an eye on doing greater things in the future, which is what we really want from all of us here in Garden City, but definitely at the DDA, where we want to see that money produce value for our downtown, because a downtown is the heart of a community. It's essential that we provide an excellent place for people to drive through and get a strong opinion of us, a good, strong opinion, and move to Garden City and spend their dollars here. 2025 staffing levels, we got one community development director. As I said before, one full, one part-time building employee, a quarter of an employee for supplementing assistant director in the DDA, and then our planning and our contracted building department have a quarter of employee from McKenna, and then 3 1/4 full-time employees for building. And we also have Gary Palmer, who we contract with to maintain the DDA and does an excellent job, and you could tell puts his heart really into it, and make sure he does the most with his job as well. Last slide is Community Development Director 2025 projects. Mishta Housing Readiness Grant, that is an opportunity to examine housing and adjust our master plan to accommodate housing in the future. Eagle grants, placemaking grants are all on the horizon, things we're applying for, and I like Eagle for the streetlights is one that we already did. Still going to do plenty new current and new business introductions. Continue to administer the sidewalk grant, make future and new business connections. One of the things Matt does a pretty good job of is connecting with our new businesses, visiting them, staying up to date on their needs and what he can do better in the future. Continue to organize those great community events. Do ordinance amendments that encourage development, but also maintaining quality environment for development. He's already done an analysis of the available properties in the DDA, and now he's working on the entire city. Also, with the utilization of brownfield property tax credits, specifically now that the law changed that allows us to use brownfield for what are part residential projects. So it really opens up what we can do. And this is where having a professional, educated, in planning, like a planner, be involved in these brownfield tax property credits, because knowing the changes in the law and how to utilize them, which he's been doing pretty well in navigating, has been impressive to see, and it provides tremendous value to the entire community and the DDA. Community visits, and he still does, as I said, he doesn't just visit the business, though. He visits residents and neighborhoods and people with all their random problems. I think he said he collects stray problems, I think he said the other day. And he attends conferences to stay up to date in the changes in laws and what we need. So he does a good job of training, but he also does a great job of administrating our community development needs. That's it for community development. I'd be happy to answer any questions as best I can in Matt's stead.
Council, any questions or comments for Mr. Gibbons?
Mayor, I just want to say that Matt Miller will be hard to replace.
Yes, he will.
And he does wear many, many hats. And I appreciate how much work he's done, courting new business owners or people who are interested in investing in the city. And he's contributed quite a bit for the growth that we're seeing in the city.
Absolutely. Having a planning degree and a history in planning, but also clerk and all the other things Matt's done, he's developed such a wide knowledge of government that it's fantastic because I always joke, like, whenever if there's a new subject that's a novel to me, he's already dealt with it twice. So, yeah, he certainly will be hard to replace.
Mayor,
Councilmember Dole?
speaking about the DDA's fund balance, I know the state doesn't like DDAs to have money without a plan.
Yes.
So do you know if they have a project they're looking at?
Matt has quite a few projects he's talked about. I don't know if they have a specific one they're committed to. The park is always one on the horizons. I think downtown park is fantastic, and Matt agrees, and we've talked about that a number of times, and getting the money there to be able to pull something off like that. Because as we see for the chili cook-off, being able to bring people into our downtown to recreate has tremendous advantage for the businesses and for just the overall opinion of Garden City. Also, there's plenty of parking lot that can always use a little bit of dressing up and other little downtown streetscapes and things like that. So, I would leave it to the DDA board to decide, but I know there's plenty of projects that money could be used for. I know my personal favorite is the park idea, but
Always been my favorite, too.
Yep.
So.
I know we've talked many times, and so that'd be something I'd be excited about. But ultimately, the DDA will have it. There's plenty to do there, and
I
I'm
didn't know
sure.
if they had something in the works, so.
Yep. I can't speak for Matt on exactly specifically in his conversations, but nothing that I'm aware of is particularly official.
Yeah, he has not brought anything official to the DDA board yet, but I know there's been discussions and he's, should be coming up soon,
Okay, thank
before he
you.
leaves. Okay, further questions or comments for? Oh, okay. Next up, DPW, and I will bring up our supervisor, Mr. Brad Oman.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Department of Public Works. This is where we stand today. 25 full-time employees, 2 part-time seasonal employees, and 10 part-time employees in the custodial division who do an outstanding job for us, serving over 27,000 residents. I'd like to thank my team for all their hard work and everything we were able to accomplish this past year. We have a great group of hard-working individuals on that chart from top to bottom. And I would also like to thank the mayor and council for their support of the department. Our operational costs are split between the general fund, the water and sewer fund, and Act 51 funding. We have 13 full-time employees funded through the water and sewer fund, 6 full-time employees that are split between water and sewer and the general fund, and 6 full-time and 10 part-time employees that are funded through the general fund. Our purchases and services can be and sometimes are split between multiple accounts, split between general and water, roads and water, general and roads, and all roads can be split between major and local. Our overall budget for the coming year hasn't really changed that much. Some small increases in certain accounts to cover the increase in costs. As you're aware, everything has gone up. One key increase to this year's budget is personnel costs. We are proposing to add 2 full-time maintenance positions. One of those positions is filling a vacancy from 2024, and the second will be an addition to our workforce as we are taking on additional responsibilities and duties. And we want to have another guy working in the water. We felt last year we cut back too much. That chart sorry, that's what our new chart would be. A new responsibility that we're taking on is the full maintenance of city parks. We have always maintained the parks with cutting grass. Now we'll be in charge of garbage removal and restroom maintenance. We all want clean, well-maintained parks, but remember that comes with a cost. The addition of these 2 new employees will be able to achieve that. Future equipment purchases to maintain our fleet. In the CIP, we didn't make any purchases this past year. We just moved in everything to this upcoming year. They include a purchase of a new backhoe to replace our 2001 model, 2 one-ton dump trucks to replace our 2005 trucks, and the purchase of a zero-turn mower. In the CIP for 28-29, I have proposed to purchase a new Vector jet truck to replace our 2002 model. This piece of equipment is a must-have for any DPW. We use this to clean storm and sanitary sewers, hydro-excavating water main breaks, where there's a lot of utilities in the ground. This is much safer to do it this way instead of excavating with a machine. Potholing water services for repair or lead service investigation, and much more. These purchases can be made using Act 51 and/or the Water Fund. Again, this year we'll be conducting our 4x4 Neighborhood Improvement Program. This program is designed to target services in a 4-block area for 4 weeks. The DPW duties will be street repairs, water and sewer structural repairs, inspection and cleaning of the stormwater system, tree trimming within the right-of-way, street and traffic sign replacement. I think this program is very worthwhile. The residents see the results and they appreciate it. A topic that was brought up at the council's goal-setting meeting was water main breaks and replacements. One of our duties, in which we take very seriously, is the maintenance of our water distribution system and delivering safe drinking water to our residents. Our system has over 100 miles of water mains, over 11,000 service connections with a daily average demand of 2.3 million gallons. We do have an aging system. The majority of the system was installed in the 1930s and the 1950s. Our crews do an excellent job maintaining our system. Water main breaks are a problem. It's a regional problem, with most of the water main breaks occurring in the winter, and it's also weather-driven. This shows the number of breaks for the past 10 years. These are listed in calendar years. A 10-year average is about 75 breaks per year. Per the council's request, we are prioritizing our water main for future replacements. We are doing this using our asset management data system. This is a GIS system that works off the satellites to pin it to the exact location. We have been digging back into our records. This will give us a good view of where the worst water mains are. This is also a great tool to use along with our PASER ratings for combining future water main and road projects. I have included in the CIP $1 million each year for water main replacements, which I believe is much needed. We are also pursuing grants for replacements. Another water-related topic I'd like to touch on this evening is lead water service replacements. We have been aggressive in replacing the lead lines. Since 2019, we have replaced almost 400. As of today, we have 264 known lead lines and 354 of unknown material. Our contractor is working in town as we speak. Been working off a $1.5 million grant that was awarded to us last year from Eagle. We still have about $1 million left in that grant, and we were recently awarded a $1 million grant from HUD for the investigation and the replacement of lead lines. So I hope to have all lead lines replaced within 2 years, and it will all be grant funded. Do we have any questions?
So, Mayor Pro Tem Dole.
Yes, I have a few. First, I got to commend you and your team. You guys do a fantastic job day after day. People don't understand what you go through in 10 to 20 degrees out there in the snow, the wet, 80 degrees down in these holes, replacing your water mains. The hazards you have every day, dealing with lead pipes, hazardous waste, collapsing while you're down the hole, heavy-duty equipment. That got me thinking, do you have money in your budget for training these employees?
Yes, we always do. Excavate training, traffic control, that's a big one. We send just about all our group throughout the year to different events. Some are actually free trainings, which is good, so.
Very good. Another one, are you going after the tree grants again?
Excuse me?
The tree grant money, are we going after that again?
We did apply with our partners with the Alliance of Rouge Communities, which is like 31 communities for a grant through the U.S. Forest Service. And then we're going to apply for the grant for the DTE through the state for the tree program. Yep.
Okay, last but not least, do you feel 2 employees is enough for what you guys do? Especially taking on Parks and Rec?
I believe so, but I'll take 5 if I could get it. I've always been the type, you do the best with what you got. I think adding the 2 will definitely get us on firmer ground, yeah.
Yeah, we see that too. Thank you for what you do.
Yeah, thank
That's
you.
all I have.
Thank you. Further comments or questions from the table?
I
Councilmember Hughes.
concur with Mayor Pro Tem about the great job that you do. And I all through winter, I'm driving by and I'm seeing those guys out there, and it's cold and it's wet, and they, every day, they get up and that's what they do, but it's greatly appreciated.
No kidding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from the table? Okay, on to the next one, which is you, major and local streets.
Smear. This was touched on previously at a budget meeting. We're anticipating a larger increase, Act 51 funding from the state more than years past, which will bring about $4.5 million funding the roads. That's correct. Our certified road mileage is 101.2 miles of roadway, 21.06 of major roads, 79.96 of local. We are allowed to transfer up to 50% of the major funding into our local roads. For this year's road bond projects, the projected cost is $7 million, $6 million in concrete reconstruction, $700,000 in concrete sectioning, $300,000 for joint and crack sealing. These contracts will be brought to council next week. Any questions?
Questions on the roads? No questions. All right, thank you. On to your next one, water and sewer.
As Shannon touched on this earlier, last month, the Great Lakes Water Authority approved water and sewer rate increase to all its members, partners. The numbers that I received was 5.8 increase in water, 4.26 increase for sewer. This is back-to-back years they have had above a 5% rate increase. Historically, GLWA increases have been below 3%. I believe this is due to the rising costs of treating water, and they want to do more future capital improvements. Just seen on the news last week, the big water main break in Farmington. So obviously, that's what they're shooting for, is to generate more money for their projects.
I believe also they were capped at a certain amount that they could raise rates, and that expired, I believe, last year. So with that uncapping, they're going to go for whatever,
Yeah.
as much as they can, unfortunately. Questions, comments?
Mayor,
Councilmember Hughes.
I know they ended up at 5.8 and 4.25, but they were shooting for higher than that, weren't they initially?
Yeah, I forget the exact number. They did lower it after they had the public hearing. Yeah.
Further comments from the table? Thank you, Mr. Omen.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. Give you a minute to set your stuff up. Anybody want a coat?
Yes.
Bonfire.
You all set? All right. Next up is Parks and Recreation, Director, Mr. Zach King.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I guess I'll talk in a moment. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me here tonight. With Parks and Recreation, we're going to go over a few things. First off, I'm going to start off with the overview and accomplishments of the department. Then we're going to talk budget numbers with Parks, Radcliffe, and the Ice Arena. Then we'll go over some program stats with the department as a whole. We'll talk about grants and training, and then the cost recovery of the department. I took a moment and looked back at the 5-year master plan and looked at some of the residents' suggestions on what they want to see in their Parks and Rec in Garden City. And really, all those suggestions boil down to 3 things. They want physical health and wellness, they want mental health and nature access, and then community connection and safety. I believe that the Parks Department is doing really well with these 3 objectives, and we continue to strive for those moving forward. Some accomplishments and highlights of the past 12 months is the recent addition of the information desk at the Radcliffe Center, the Radcliffe Gymnasium completion, ball field maintenance. We have started our parks with our parks team. They're working on those fields to bring them back up to playable conditions, especially with the introduction of softball leagues again this year. There's one of the most complaints I hear is the field condition. So with that returning this previous year and continuing this year, we're hoping to improve those. We received additional CDBG funding for additional restrooms at Radcliffe. Those are in completion, almost complete now. In the past 12 months, we've had 2 successful charity hockey games at our hockey arena. Those went really well. Between last year, the Westland and Garden City Police Departments, and this year, the Garden City Fire Department and the Garden City Police Department. Congratulations to the fire department on their win. We've introduced an after-school tutoring program, 100% grant funded through MyLeap. And then we're working with the Kiwanis Club and actually Public Works this previous year has been doing upgrades at the park. They have a plan put together on moving forward. The Radcliffe Center being the hub of a lot of recreation in the Parks Department, a lot is going on there. And I wanted to highlight some of our community volunteers as well. Our thrift shop volunteers, our Commission on Aging volunteers, and all the community volunteers that come out for all our events throughout the year. They're very vital to the operations of Parks and Rec, and they increase those values. The Parks Department is broken into 3 different departments. Parks being Department 757, you'll see me reference that a few times tonight. That includes all the park facilities, so Garden City Park, Moeller, Rotary, Kiwanis, Manor, Florence, Arcola, and Helen. And then we have the Radcliffe Center, Department 758, and then the Ice Arena, Department 759. The Parks and Recreation Department, like I said, is divided into those 2 departments. This is a 1,000-foot view of a lot of the funding changes that happen from the 2025-26 approved budget to what we're requesting here in 26-27. Some of those increases is the 3% wage increase, contracted increase. Some revenue increases are those returning those softball leagues. Some of the changes from staffing changes. A lot of the changes at the Ice Arena from August Ice we're going to introduce to this new fiscal year. New programming that we're running across the entire department. The usage of our Radcliffe gym has gone up now that it's completed and more usable. And Radcliffe facility rentals have also increased. I'll dive more into these department by department. Starting first with Parks, Department 757. Activities that operate in here is softball, kickball, and cornhole leagues. There's a lot of Garden City Youth Athletic Association field use, soccer club field use, big events in the parks, just music in the park, movies in the park, pavilion rentals, and then of course playgrounds and green space. Diving into the changes in revenues, so I've kind of separated, I go through each 3 departments and I bring forward on these presentation slides a lot of the big changes I saw in the department is moving forward. In revenues in parks being pavilion rentals, we've seen a little decrease. I want to actually fix this with some marketing and some Facebook advertisements to increase that pavilion rental use. Garden City Park is a great park. We're also working with Wayne County Parks to be on their top 100 parks list. I'm hoping that'll bring people to Garden City to rent those pavilions. So while the trend is showing better and I budgeted for lower, we're hoping to bring that right back up to where we used to be. Also leagues, we've seen it not necessarily decrease in our league usage, but the cornhole leagues that were operating out of the parks during the winter, that revenue was moved over to the Radcliffe Center because that's where we're operating out of and that's where we're paying the staff out of to run that league. And then ball field prepping, this is something we haven't done previously that we are recognizing in the budget. We charge per prep on the field. Expenses and salaries, the reduction, the biggest reduction in there is moving the park attendants over to the Public Works. Office supplies reduction, operating supplies we increased as we think we'll see we need some picnic tables this year and a few things to increase our park view. And then equipment maintenance, again, moving our park attendants out of the department, we won't have so much equipment that we need to maintain. Overall, the requested budget is a net of $199,000 to the city. If you can see, I also listed the staffing in this department and some of those big changes to the operating cost. The Radcliffe Center is a host of a lot of different programs and activities for the city. This budget proposal includes no reduced hours for this upcoming summer. So we'll run year-long, Monday through Thursday, 8:30 to 8:30, and then Friday and Saturday from 9 to 1, and Sunday closed. Of course, we operate out of those hours pretty frequently for rentals. There is an increased price on the rental for those times. Services offered, which don't generate revenue but are offered at the Radcliffe Center, is our home pantry, the veteran services, SHIP services from the Senior Alliance, AARP Tax Aid. They're there now working with our seniors every Tuesday and Wednesday to get their taxes done. That's a very good, successful program. And they've actually let us know that we've handled the registration and we're on the hook for providing the space for taxes and doing all the registrations for the appointments. They said we're probably one of the best venues that host, and they would like more room next year, so we're looking forward to that. Our senior center has a lot of free or reduced priced activities, our family resource center, and then a new addition of the after-school tutoring. Through the budget session, I had to learn a lot of what previous years looked like, and we came across some numbers of what Radcliffe's doing today, and I wanted to bring this forward because it's actually kind of surprising. So you can see the activity in 24-25, the Radcliffe Center cost a little over $500,000. They budgeted in 25-26 to cost $373,000 to the city's general fund. As of today, or yesterday, March 15th, the Radcliffe Center is actually generating money. Of course, that's not what's projected, but because of the costs and expenses and the increase in revenues we've seen over the last 8 months, we're net positive. The projected final of this fiscal year after we do spend and stuff, I believe this is actually a worst-case scenario at $289,000, but we're moving in the right direction.
Excuse me, Zach, I just want to clarify, as of March 15th, the city's made $20,000 in the operation of the Radcliffe Center. So now, will that continue throughout the rest of the year? We don't know. But it's just worth noting the drastic difference in revenues versus expenses compared to the previous year. We spent $550,000 to operate the Radcliffe Center in '24 and '25, and so far, we actually made money on it so far. That may or may not continue throughout the, it may slow down a little bit, but it definitely has changed our projections at the Radcliffe Center. So, you know, if you were, which you were at those meetings in January, where we had to make some drastic changes to the operation of the Radcliffe Center and Parks and Rec as a whole, this to me is a number that was a wonderful indication that we're headed in the right direction. Couple that with the fact that if you walk through the Radcliffe Center on any given day when they're open, you'll notice that you can barely see down the halls because there's a lot of people and a lot of activity and a lot of programming there. So when I was looking at his presentation and saw this slide and heard that number, I was very pleased at the efforts of the Parks and Rec Department at Radcliffe.
Yeah, it really contributes to that increase of revenue as we release more and more programs and then just spending less money. Hopefully allows us to actually bring forward some purchases we believe will further help either reduce cost or increase cost to council for approval and maybe spend some of that money that we were able to reduce. Here are the changes to the Radcliffe Center revenues. Our revenue sources are our programs, our facility reservations, and our rent. We try to keep this as much status quo as possible. A lot of changes are happening at Radcliffe, and we're seeing a big increase in activities and people purchasing tickets and stuff like that to our events. But I didn't want to overestimate, so I try to keep a lot of this the same. It does change a little bit of how we report in BSNA. We changed a few GLs around, like the very first one there, the independent classes. That revenue is going to be from courses where we pay that 70-30 split. So a lot of our classes we offer, instructors come in, they want to host a class in our building, they sign a contract with us, we do the marketing, we provide the space, they bring their education and they bring their experience to the community. When people register for that class, we take in that revenue through our recreation software. If it meets the standards that an instructor wants, then we run the class. When the revenue is collected, we pay out 70% to the instructor and we keep 30% for the services we provided. That is where that revenue will be reflected in that GL. Dance Express, that increase is combining all of the GLs they have. They have one for recitals, one for their class revenue. We moved that into one. The next one, the instructor revenue, this is something we kind of don't really have right now, but this is classes that we host where it's a paid employee teaching that course, which is mainly our Dance Express, our adult fitness classes, and our adult dance classes. Center rental, we're seeing an increase in the rentals at the Radcliffe Center that is reflected there. The dance recital, like I said, we moved this money up to the Dance Express account, so we emptied that one out. Senior activities, we've seen an increase in those activity registrations. That's reflected there. The fitness room, now that we're open to all ages and more equipment and a bigger space, thanks to some grant funding, we're seeing an increase in memberships for that. Advertisements we're bringing back. We didn't have them previously, but we're looking to do that again for the Rec Connect, the Echo. Those are reflected there. And then, of course, the rent agreements increase in percentage. The changes in expenses at the Radcliffe Center is some of this salary reallocation, different people moving different places. Also, the biggest increase you see there is from operating the front desk during the summer for our full hours. If we don't see the influx of people through the summer, we won't run at that capacity with staffing, but that does reflect full staffing through the summer at Radcliffe. Operating supplies increased as we're running more programs. We're bringing in more revenue. Dance Express expenses went down a little bit. They're not spending as much. The thrift shop moving over to the Radcliffe Center, we only increased this a little bit because we never know where that's going to go, but we have seen they're doubling, if not tripling, their income from the Maplewood Center over to the Radcliffe Center. So we see that number going to continue to go up. Contractual professional, there wasn't a lot used in this account without the Radcliffe Center, and we don't see any major expenses coming up, so we reduced that a bit. The HVAC preventive maintenance, this was taken out the previous year because we were going through an HVAC redevelopment, a whole new system, so there was no preventative maintenance. That will come back. Printing and publishing were reduced. We're not mailing the RecConnect anymore. We're doing those postcards once a year that significantly decrease cost. Utility costs we see go up, which we actually believe this is a worst-case scenario with all the new HVAC and all the new lighting and LEDs. I want to see something close to the police department where that really comes down. And we also want to be focused moving forward, especially in what grant money we have left in the HUD. Would be nice to do anything to reduce those at utility cost. So hopefully that's a worst-case scenario, and then the retiree cost changes a little bit. The current net appropriations in this budget request is $299,000. The ice rink. In this budget, you will see a little bit of an increase. We're proposing an additional month of ice from August until mid-May. Activities include drop-in hockey, birthday party packages, specialty skates, figure skating, open skate, sticks and pucks, learn to play hockey, home of the Garden City Figure Skating Club, the Garden City Hockey Association, and the Over 30. We also have ice rentals. Changes in revenues. We see a decrease in this birthday party package. That's actually because we have two different types of birthday party packages there. One is you can rent our party room during an open skate, and it gives you access to so many skaters. Or what we're seeing more often now is they're just renting the entire ice for an hour and a half, and then having the entire place to themselves for their party. So that's happening more often, so that's actually reflected in our ice rental cost, since it's actually a rental, so that's why we're seeing those birthday parties go down, because we're just finding that birthday parties at the rink, they just want to bring as many people as they can and not have to do it during open skate on our time, they can do it on their time. The ice show, this wasn't previously represented, this was mixed into a GL low or below, so that got adjusted and we moved ice show rental to its own GL item, that's why you're seeing that revenue there. Figure skating ice, this is our program we run, and when they rent the ice for this figure skating, we're seeing an increase of that. And I guess I won't keep repeating myself, but a lot of these increases is because of the August ice. Offering a whole nother month of ice at a premium rate is why you're seeing some of these increases. Some of those contracts, giving confirmation of this, we're moving forward with. Drop-in hockey increase. The Garden City Hockey Association is reaching a peak and kind of decreasing a little bit. They're not renting as much ice. They don't have as much teams. They're looking to build that program back up. Over 30 hockey and figure skating. The figure skating goes down because, again, we represented some of that in that ice show GL. And then our ice rentals are going up. This is two things. August ice is why that's increasing so much. And two, we're just seeing the revenues come in. So this better reflects our revenues expected for the next year. Other arena revenue also increases. Some of the changes in expenses is the salaries and wages. Operating supplies goes up a little bit. Some of this, again, is to account for that August ice. Hate to repeat myself, but equipment maintenance goes up a little bit for that. Contractual professional goes up a little bit for that. Telephone wasn't represented, so we included that in the ice arena. And then utility costs, which is going to be our biggest increase with running August ice. That department nets $197,000 to the general fund. I want to go over a little bit of the stats we have. Sportsman was able to pull some of these out, so I wanted to share them because they were actually pretty surprising, and I like what I'm seeing so far. This is our youth programming, so everything that falls underneath our youth coordinator, and those 70-30 splits, of course, everything that runs through our Sportsman software. In 2025, we saw 1,405 registrations in that. So far, year to date, this is just 2 months worth of data, January and February. We saw 604 registrations. Multiplying that out for our expected programs over the next 12 months, we'll see 3,624 registrations. Youth programming includes Camp GC, which we're really expanding this summer. We're moving from 30 kids, or actually from 20 kids a week to 4 weeks to 50 kids a week, or 50 kids total, and 10 weeks of that. So that's actually with the MyLeap OST grant we received. So we'll be increasing that program significantly this summer. The Nature Explorers program, Spring Break Camp, which will be running in a few weeks here, Nerf Wars, Kids Power Karate, Music and Movement, Season Sprouts, Parents Night Out, Space Sport Gaming Camp, and many, many more. Next up, our adult programming. In 2025, we saw 271 registrations. This is mostly our leagues of our softball, cornhole, kickball, and now with the introduction of pickleball, yoga, and cardio drumming, we're seeing already a huge increase, already beating 2025 numbers this first 2 months of 2026. We expected 1,510 registrations in 2026. Next, we have our senior programming. I made this text really small because they do so much. between art classes and authorized exercise and authorized mindful motions, bingo at the rec, a new program, grief and loss support, M&M, Bunko, Pinnacle, Red Hats, MDDSC. We have a lot of parties. We're increasing those to 12 a year. We want to do lunches at least 12 times a year, themed around something within the month. They do special events, which actually a lot of the bus transportation for these special events and trips are funded through the thrift shop. So they raise money all year long, and they contribute to that bus cost, which makes our tickets really low for the seniors. Our luncheon funds, and we also have counseling for Medicaid provided by the Senior Alliance, Tai Chi, some aerobics, and TOPS. In 2025, we saw 3,708 registrations. So far, we've seen 714, and we believe we'll see 2,400 moving forward. Art programming, we have art facility at the Radcliffe Center. It is used almost daily, actually taken up 2 days of the week right now for our taxes. We have acrylic painting, creative freedom, we have drawing, fun with mixed media, a new class coming out, Little Artist, sculpting, soft pastels, watercolor painting, craft day, and circuit classes. A lot of these programs are offered by the same art teacher every day, very big asset to our building. In 2025, we had 57 registrations. I think this is actually low. I think Sportsman wasn't fully, I think our art programming sometimes falls in our adult and sometimes falls in our youth categories. But now that we have its own category, our own dedicated person, they're running so many programs, we're moving it out. So 2025 is actually pretty low, and that 38 registrations so far to be 228, I believe that's pretty accurate, but again, some of those programs run in adult and youth, so some of those numbers are over there. Dance Express program, in 2025, we saw 774 registrations. In 2026, we've seen 808. That only includes people in the 30-week course right now. We still have our Princess dance party and our summer dance this summer, so we're going to see 620 registrations, we believe. Dance Express includes that adult fit hop, the dance party, summer tumbling itself, adult dance classes, and then everything offered in her 30-week course. Special events and programs, this includes like our family night out, the daddy-daughter dance we just had, breakfast with Santa, breakfast with the Easter Bunny, Halloween dog party, pumpkin spectacular, elf workshop, and many more. In 2025, we saw 494 registrations. So far, we already have 270. We largely contributed to the daddy-daughter dance. We completely sold out of that event and actually offering another one next month because of it. We expect to see 1,620 registrations in this moving forward. The Ice Arena programming, this is everything the Ice Arena offers. Open skate, be a rink manager, drop-in hockey, all of our specialty skates, including a new one this past year, stuffed turkey skate, and sticks and pucks. In 2025, we didn't have people pre-register for drop-in hockey and sticks and pucks, so those numbers are not represented in that number. So 612 pre-registered open skates. We are moving to a lot more stuff being online registration, so we know ahead of time who's coming. Drop-in hockey, I don't believe is there yet, but sticks and pucks is 100% online. We've already seen 662 registrations. I'm estimating 1,400 registrations moving forward, but I think I'll see that move up. And it's not a true representation of those programs, the Ice Arena, because a lot of those you pay when you come in and it's like a drop-in. So it's not actually pre-registration, so it doesn't show up in the registration software like that. I wanted to highlight our home food pantry as a big asset to the Radcliffe Center. The pantry hours are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays from 9 to noon. We actually had to add, as you know, some things happened at the federal level and people were without food for a bit. And we had to actually add Wednesdays to support the community's needs. So we did that this past few months with PAD. We serve residents of Garden City and families of the Garden City Public Schools. We serve about 110 families per month, which is 250 individuals per month. We also have a federal funded emergency food assistance program that helps 30 to 35 families per month. There are no residency requirements for that, and that's the third Wednesday of every month. And we also have Focus Hope running out of the same area and Commodities. They deliver and distribute the first Wednesday of each month, and 11 seniors receive boxes. Moving on to grants and training. Currently ongoing grants is the My Leap Out of School Time Grant. That's about $98,000 a year. We're hoping to continue that every year. Something that grant doesn't cover, it actually ends September 30th of this calendar year. And it doesn't pick the funding back up until January. So actually we'll be without a few months of that funding for that program. We're hoping that we're hoping we can figure that out by then, to still provide that tutoring for those 3 months. I didn't include it in the budget proposal currently, but I think we have some solutions and some other grant funding we'll find before then. I don't think it'll be a problem. That also includes the summer camp. We have the Senior Alliance. We have funding from them for staffing and for programming, that's CHI-T and authorized exercise. And then we also have senior staffing from CDBG. Training and courses we've taken in the past few months is the Safe Surf Manager certification. We need this to run the cafe and the kitchen at the Radcliffe Center. We have some cash handling certifications, CPR certifications, first aid, SurfSafe food handling, which is for the part-time employees, monitor management courses, and most recently our senior coordinator went to get her certified senior advisor. She took the course and hopefully going to pass her test next month. I want to go over a little bit of that cost recovery of Parks and Rec because we're a department that has that ability to bring in revenues. The 2024-25 fiscal year activity, so this is what happened in 24-25. As you can see, the 3 different departments are depicted there. 1.9 million operating cost, just under $1 million in revenue with a cost recovery of 47%. That's kind of the number I've been looking at through some of this, with a net loss of $1 million to the city's general fund. Moving forward to the 2025-26 fiscal year projected, that number changes to operating cost of 1.7 million with a projected revenue of 1 million with a cost recovery of 58%, with a cost of the city's general fund $720,000. This is using the projections of this current fiscal year. And then moving forward, the proposed budget for 26-27, operating cost 1.7 million with revenue of just over $1 million with a cost recovery of 59%, with a cost to the city's general fund $696,000. We hope we're moving in the right direction in Parks and Rec with increasing our revenues and decreasing our expenditures, especially as it's needed. Moving forward, I think when I was looking at like what's next for the department, I kind of wrote these very generically and kind of one for each department. But I truly believe, like especially moving into this role with a new set of eyes, this is the few things I want to take out of moving forward for Parks, Radcliffe, and the ice arena. First, I want to take a look at our park facilities, improving amenities, addressing capital needs. I think one of the things that will largely increase our usage of the parks and serve the residents better is moving that trash and maintenance over to Public Works. I think they'll do a great job at maintaining the parks and to be a more friendlier place for our residents to visit. I think that's a great addition moving forward. But I also want to take a look at SEMCOG sent us some numbers of people visiting our parks. They don't include youth data, so you only know adults with phones. So if the youth has a phone, you don't actually know through Pacer if a youth visited the park. We can look at that adult data through cell phone usage and see who's using our parks, where and when, and how to allocate that money, especially to our 5-year master plan. This one is something I've been working on the past few months and want to continue the next year, is strengthen and expand the Radcliffe Center's programs, services, and facility use to maximize its role as a central gathering place for the Garden City community. I think we've done that this past few months, and I think the community is seeing that, and I'm excited for that. So I want to continue moving forward and keep that at the forefront of what we're doing moving forward. And then I also want to review the ice arena's operations, programming, and capital needs to maximize its potential while maintaining consistent and affordable pricing for the community. Something as a lot of people probably know, there's a company out there purchasing ice arenas around us and doubling their rates. So this is an opportunity for us to look at what capital needs the ice rink needs, what's important for them, what can we do to improve those facilities, but also staying affordable and not increasing our rates. I know I spoke a lot, but any questions?
Council, questions, comments for Mr. King? Councilmember Hughes.
If you look at the proposed budget for 26-27, there's 2 pages. One
I
has-
apologize, yes.
Okay.
One's a typo, and then one's the correct one.
Okay. So
There's a
six-
$300,000 number in the bottom left, that's a typo.
Thank you.
That would have been a good number, though.
It would have been.
That was a really good, I really had my hopes set
Feel
high.
free to set that as a goal.
Mayor,
Okay, Councilmember Dole.
I have a few questions,
Yeah.
Mr. King. So throughout your presentation, the youth programming, the adult programming, all that over at Radcliffe, were all of these programs offered in 2025? So to make, what I'm asking is to make the comparison between 2025 and 2026, are we looking at tit for tat?
I get that. So no, actually, the program's definitely increased. We're bringing some back. Some were like, there are programs we ran in '24, we did it in '25, and now we're bringing back in '26. Mostly because of those staffing changes. Some of that staff moving from full-time to part-time really had to figure out what they could do. So they really reduced what the programs they offered in '25, and now we're ramping back up and seeing what exactly can a part-time employee provide in coordinating those classes. Allowing them to work to their full potential and work with the classes that are running, they're increasing their rates significantly. The classes I listed on that was a report of the last 12 months, what has ran. So what has gone from 12 months ago till like March 15th, so today. That's what you're seeing there. I didn't look at that. I could give you a list of what was offered in '24, '25, and '26. '24, we don't have perfect registrations numbers for, but I could have provided those as well. Because you're right, it's not technically apples to apples, but there was a big staffing change done before 2025, and that's what resulted in a lot of decrease of funding, or not funding, but a lot of decrease in programs offered. But with the same staffing, we're doing way more now.
Also, the $98,000 grant, how is that split up between the camp and the tutoring program?
I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. I could provide those. I believe it's almost 50-50.
No, it's, I believe it's around 58,000 for the school year, and then 30-something thousand for the camp session, and that's decided by the granting agency. So they gave us the numbers to operate on.
Okay.
Yeah, they were given numbers, and we had to go within those. I will say, though, like, those numbers are solid, what we have to do within those two things. But when me and Sean put together a budget, we are making lots of changes because we're learning what it takes to run this program. So, for instance, something we budgeted for is transportation. We didn't budget enough for what we're going with the Guernsey Public Schools and what they can provide. So we need to increase that, so we're moving stuff around as we speak. That's why I say I can't remember perfectly, because, like, even transportation blends between the summer and the school year.
Okay, and you mentioned also, it's a little out of my league because I don't play, but we're bringing back adult softball?
That is correct. That's one of my goals for the next few months, is to bring back adult softball.
Okay,
We're a little late to the game on the spring leagues. I'm hoping to bring back Sundays this coming spring. But summer, I want to run 3 days a week, co-ed and men's softball leagues. That's something that was kind of, the registration wasn't there. We've done our best to try and draw people back in. I think one of the things was field maintenance, and one of the things was like the rules we applied our softball leagues to. I'm actually, in the past few weeks, been speaking to a lot of the community that used to play with us, why they don't play anymore, what's going on. So I'm learning, taking notes. I'm not a softball player myself, but we do have a lot of staff that does. I have a lot of family and friends that play in Canton's league, and I'm kind of learning what they do best and how can we have that here. Because when it brings down to it, kind of what I've learned about softball is they don't want the full competition like Canton. Like, we're Garden City, we want to play our neighbors and we want to do our thing. We don't want the big hype that sometimes Canton brings, and very strict rules and enrollment. So we're looking to find that. Of course, you have to play within a league and play by what rules are set with softball, so everything's fair and across the board. But bring that, I think the word I keep hearing is that homeness left a few years ago, and they want to bring that back for softball.
Wonder if we can budget to just create a big bubble over Garden City. So I did see that you're doing a lot of continuing education. I'm assuming that's in the budget moving forward for different things that may come up?
Yes, it is. It's split between all the different departments, but there is continuing education. It's very important.
Okay, and last but not least, are you estimating the kitchen in your revenues?
We are not. This is actually something I want to say in that revenue slide. It's hard to expect more revenue when we don't have the data to show it. So the kitchen's a good example. We should exceed our revenues in center rentals because we're looking to rent out that kitchen. I think it'll be a big place. We haven't done any programs in the kitchen yet. We're working on 2 right now, between baking cookies and decorating them, and also some soup, like how to make soups, that type of cooking class, and one other. Those are going to be underneath our instructor 70-30 splits. We've had a few people stop by and even want to rent the kitchen. One of the slowest things, or what people hesitate right now, is there's no utensils in the kitchen. So you kind of have to bring your own, but we have everything else. So that's one of the things why we haven't really rented it yet, but we're getting that interest. Actually, something surprisingly I wasn't expecting, but grad parties. They want an indoor large facility like our gym with a kitchen, and I think we're going to excel at those this summer. So I think that revenue, and they're not looking for a full kitchen, they're just looking for somewhere to prep some small stuff. So as it sits, that's good. Like, we already have rentals on the books for that moving forward. So without that historical data to predict those revenues, I'd hate to throw a number out there and say, I know I'm going to meet this, but then not. But I really do believe Radcliffe will exceed its revenues. I mean, we are this budget year, and I think we will next.
Okay, so that being said, do you have somewhere in the budget to outfit that, the kitchen?
I'm hoping the city manager, and likewise with council, will look at how we're doing right now at Radcliffe, being positive $20,000, and say, let's spend a little bit more to make that revenue. Whether it be the kitchen outfitting, there's some stuff for the gymnasium that didn't fit underneath the grant, that we are actively looking for grants to apply for. I think my focus for grant has shifted a little bit more from facilities to staffing. So we're actively, and actually with Sean, we're looking for grants to continue that youth programming, just like the out-of-school time MyLeap grant we have now. I'm currently actually applying for another one that's very similar in fashion. We're looking for like an after-school teen hangout. Again, that costs like staffing. So that's kind of, we shifted our grant focus to that. So we're hoping we can use even some of the money this fiscal year for that, being so net positive at Radcliffe.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Further comments or questions from the table?
If I could just add, Mayor, based on, especially like buying the equipment to produce and the shift from seeking grant support for operations versus capital, I'd much rather us buy utensils and much rather us outfit a room for a teen hangout and then find a grant to do the staffing. That is sort of the inverse of the problem we had with Radcliffe when we met back in 2025 to address this issue, is we had a lot of capital spending but not a lot of operational. So what's been great to see over the last 6 months is a focus on sustainability. What's come out of this and what I've noticed is, and it wasn't because I don't believe strongly in Parks and Rec, but I've lived in Garden City long enough and seen 30% increases in healthcare and collapses of housing markets. I've been in here long enough to know that if it's not operating efficiently with a solid revenue stream and it's not affordable, we could build it today, but the first time we encounter trouble, we lose it. So what's been super positive about what I'm seeing out of Parks and Rec now is that sustainability I'm looking for, that we've invested this capital into the Radcliffe Center, and now there's a really good chance that it becomes a sustainable asset through good times and bad. So there's utensils we need to get, but also as they perform so well, it's behoove of me to make sure I encourage that. And so there's been some requests coming from Parks and Rec that I'm likely to either approve myself or bring to council. One of them is batting cages, retractable netting for being able to do batting practice in the gymnasium. And we have open hours. He's put on the slides our intention is to maintain its current hours. But our intention is to maintain at a minimum its current hours. Because we're sort of approaching this with an entrepreneurial spirit, if we find demand for people coming in on a Friday night or a Sunday afternoon to hit baseballs in our cages, and we can accommodate that with the revenue stream that justifies it, we're going to do it. So they have full approval to seek out new opportunities to grow the facility, with the requirement, though, that they maintain fiscal responsibility that keeps it a lasting asset for the community for as long as we can. So a lot of good things happening in that respect, so appreciate it.
We're still working on that plan, but I really do hope the addition with the batting cages, we've had an enormous outreach for batting cages in Garden City. We actually have people come to Open Gym often during our slow hours just to do that type of work with what little equipment we have now. And I've kind of like approached the idea a few times, like, you know, what would you pay? What's a rate? Looking at comparables in the community. And I do believe our Fridays and Saturday nights, by renting out those cages, we could bring staff back to the front desk, meaning we could leave the building open for other activities. And that would cover that cost. So yes, of course, we only budgeted for those hours, but we're really hoping our revenues will outshine that and bring those hours back, especially during the winter when the center's used the most. And thank you for the question about the stats. Let me know if you want the 24, 25, 26. That was a good question.
I'm just curious what,
I'm half tempted, I'm curious myself, so I might need the push to do the reporting.
Other questions or comments? Okay, thank you. I know the next page is Maplewood. Do you
Yeah,
want
and I
to do
can just
that,
cover
or-
that, and then we can move on to the FRC, and that'll be the last. Maplewood is just one slide, and
Okay.
should be able to.
Why don't we do that then?
So you'll notice in this year, a specific department for just Maplewood. As we discussed way back in January 2025, it was a concern of mine as I looked at the entirety of the Parks and Rec department. And Maplewood was, and I'll still basically consider it under that umbrella, but I wanted to see, you know, when you separate the individual parts of our budget, I want to be able to see what its true cost is. What's the cost of the Maplewood Center to the city of Garden City, so we can make future plans to maintain that asset, sell it, do whatever we need to do. Positively, though, you know, we've looked at the Maplewood Center in the sense that we've had probably consistent rentals at least for another 5 to 6 years. So I really wanted to pull it out, make sure that we're watching our expenses there. If there's opportunities to improve parts of the facility, either through a grant or some other opportunity, we need to do so. But really, you're seeing that separated just so that we can keep an eye on what it's costing us so that we know if it ever trips the level, if we've got to take some immediate action. What's nice to see is that, you know, we probably have a net $61,000 coming out of it on a budgeted yearly basis. However, there is one thing always hanging over that building. It's a very, very, very old school building, and you'll notice that reflected in the building maintenance repairs. I think we're actually at $40,000 this year. I believe we've made some repairs, and hopefully we can stay down to $30,000 next year. But those costs could go very high really quickly with the age of the facility. So I pulled it out with its own separate budget. I got it out of the Radcliffe Center because it was mixed in there, and it was also mixed in general government. And it could get, and the cost of it and the revenues from it can kind of get lost in the budget, and I don't want that to be the case. I like to be able to see things easily, and I want council to be able to see things easily. So this is the Maplewood Center separated out. Right now, no reason for a particular change. However, there has been some thoughts I've had about, there's energy grants, and even the state at Eagle is toying with the idea of creating a revolving fund for loaning out money to do energy-related repairs. So, you know, Maplewood might be a target for that, depending on what our plans are going into the future and what those costs would be. But they're just some things, by pulling it out, creating its own budget, and keeping an eye on it this way, I think it'll encourage a little more effort to either solidify it as an asset or deal with it sometime in the future. But as I said, we've got renters for probably at least another 5 years, so I'm not too concerned in the short term, but I think long-term planning, this is a better way to go.
Okay. Anybody have any questions?
Of course, I have a quick question.
Go ahead, Councilmember.
The room that the thrift shop vacated,
Yes.
are we renting that out? I
I
heard there's somebody that uses it.
There was interest in it, but we couldn't settle on a price that recognized the value of renting that out. You know, when we rent to a renter and or lease it out, you know, we're obligating ourselves to a certain repairs of that room, make sure it's running, make sure they're accommodated, and the risks of just the liability that goes with having them in there. We couldn't hit a price in my negotiations with them that led me to believe it would be a good idea to bring forward yet. I'm always open to renting every piece of our space so long as it provides us the requisite value. And I'm going to continue to shop that concept, but as of right now, I don't have anything. We did, though, you are correct, we had conversations that just didn't lead to a place that I felt like was good for Garden City.
Available. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
If anyone's looking for that space, I'll gladly talk.
Further comments or questions on Maplewood? Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibbons.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
All right, at this time, we're up to communications. I'll bring up Mr. King again.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Happy to be here again. The Communications Department, better known as GCTV. What we do is we provide video support for the city, special events support and coverage. We cover the online, social media, and display boards around the city. We manage the city's website. We connect with the community, one of our primary goals. We handle the contracts and the software with emergency notifications. We do a lot of road support with our current road bond. We offer special projects and then marketing promotion for the different city business. Special events in the past few years, the GCY opening day and tournaments. We provide video support for those and audio. Veterans Day and Memorial Day. This upcoming year, actually a new addition, another ceremony similar to those two with the high school at our facilities at City Hall here. Chili Cook-Off Community Festival, Police, Fire, and DPW open houses, ice skating shows, Parks and Rec events, the DDA community tree lighting, providing video and audio, the Santa Ride, one of my favorite events every year, and the Garden Club Garden Walk. Connecting the community, we do this in a few different ways. We do this through social media, the city's website, and now mobile app. Let's skip ahead here. Oops. We connect the community in different ways, social media, the city's website, mobile app. A new application we have launched, the GC Fix-It for reporting concerns, the information desk, a new initiative at the Ratcliffe Center, and emergency notifications. Social media, we do content creation, management, and administration of the city's online presence. Our goal has always been 1 post a day. We posted 560 times in 2025, exceeding that goal between Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and now Nextdoor. We also connected the community through the city website and mobile app. The mobile app is new. We've actually yet to market it, but we're looking at that now. Here are some screenshots of that app and the website. It is now available on the App Store and the Play Store. The website sees about 170,000 visitors a year, visiting over 544,000 pages. We saw a big increase in this over COVID, and since 2023, it's kind of steadied out on our visits per year on those pages. Every year, a goal of mine is trying to get through a majority of those pages. On the website, there's about 510 total pages to make sure accurate and updated information is on each page. Every department also handles their sections within those websites. So a lot of that content creation is all done through the CMS, through every department. So thankfully, we don't have to do all the updates, but we do try and do a review. That application we just launched a few months ago, GC Fix-It for reporting online concerns, it really eases and makes the process of reporting a concern a lot easier for residents and allows us to handle them with a little bit more efficiency and more data reporting on those incidents. This is what it looks like now if you went to SeeClickFix. One of the cool features it has, it shows you what other citizens are reporting, which allows you to see where things are happening. If something was already reported, if already a fallen tree branch or a pothole's been reported, you don't have to likewise. And if you try reporting a second report for the exact same incident, it kind of pops up and says, hey, looks like something similar has been reported in this area. Do you still want to continue? And you nope, yep, one of your neighbors already reported it. You can move on. This also has an app, which is not only also included in the city branded app I just spoke about that we're working on that marketing plan for, but this has its own. You can use them interchangeably, either one, whichever you prefer. A lot of citizens that are roaming through the city or through other communities already have SeeClickFix, maybe for their community. They can really quickly take a photo, submit their report. Like I said, GC Fix-It has a better application of reporting what those incidents are. So actually that top one you see is not actually for us, that one's for Priority Waste. That's all the trash reports we received in the last 2 months, 336 requests total. And then you can kind of see broken down in category, what's getting the most attention versus the least. Something probably used previously done in each department, but now across the several different departments that taken those reporting, we have one dashboard that can report what's happening. A new initiative in a partnership with the Parks and Recreation Department is the information desk. We accept calls and emails to that desk. We direct calls to different departments as needed or try and answer questions if we already have that knowledge in our knowledge base. The majority of the calls come in, we enter SeeClickFixes in for, whether it's potholes, down trees, or those trash pickups that are missed. We're taking those calls in and reporting them and relieving that work from the departments. Like one of the most common calls we get is that trash pickup. In the last 2 months, we received 2,316 calls, totaling a talk time of just over 20 hours. Next is our new software, Code Red, for emergency notifications. This is Code Red by Crisis 24. Code Red began July 1st. Since then, we have 2,346 subscribers to Code Red with 13,000 emergency contacts in there. The usage report, I actually have a typo below. The numbers are fairly similar to the usage, so I overlooked this. But I actually wanted to say we have sent out 46 messages. That's about once per week since we've implemented it. And we have reached 130,000 messages, contacts sent out. These broke up between emergency road closures and stuff like that, or planned road closures. We used it a lot for the sidewalks this past summer, letting certain quadrants know about activity with the sidewalks and coming through and replacing them, especially where we started that was so condensed with so many missing sidewalks. Through that sidewalk gap program, we're able to send out notifications to everybody so they get contact of us. So we use that a lot for that, and then we also use it for special events. Moving forward to the department's revenues, The department brings in revenue through PEG fees. This is public education and government fees that are inside their franchise agreements for providing cable services to the city. This ranges from 1% to 2% collected on the cable bill. Something that I kind of talked about a lot last budget session, and I'm still hoping for this budget session, is changes in legislation to include if you are providing streaming services. For instance, you can go to WOW. You can't get a cable box anymore today. They're still providing it if you have it, but you can't get a new one. But what they will sell you is YouTube TV through WOW. They want to collect on those costs to 1-2% to return back to the cities. Currently, that's not in there. They're looking to change that. I'm staying informed on the forums on what's happening in the legislation on that, but that would be a good increase. As you can tell, our expected, actually, this was a little unexpected this year. I predicted a loss in some of this from people moving from WOW. Just naturally, the company is trying to push people off their cable platform. So we've seen a big drop in that revenue. We actually saw an increase in AT&T Uverse revenue. So it turns out people still want cable, and they're just going to a different location to get it. So whether they be Comcast or Uverse. Uverse makes it the easiest to still get those cable boxes. Comcast makes it a little more difficult. They want to switch you to streaming, but you can still get them today. So no changes actually in the road project revenue. That will still be the same coming this summer. But the PEG fees, I am predicting to decrease as, again, people switch from cable and cut the cord. Changes to expenses, you see the difference in salary allocation. There actually is, in the current budget, is a full-timer communications specialist, someone dedicated to communications outside of myself and Jake. I'm not convinced on hiring that position yet. It is in there in case it is needed. But I believe the workload that communications offers, we're going to split it down to half, and we'll be able to facilitate everything communications needs. It is there if at one point we do believe we need it, but it is in the budget, but I don't think we're going to hire it or need it as of right now. Contractual services, we have a lot of our contracts have a 2.5% increase no matter what, so that's represented there. And equipment maintenance, we just haven't been using that budget as much, so we decreased that a bit. With a net cost, the city is $100,000 after PEG fees. Looking ahead, we continue to cover city programs and events. Something I actually want to expand on moving forward is marketing all large city events. The city runs a lot of them ourselves, but it's not just us. The Straight Farmhouse has a large event with their Oktoberfest, and a lot of different, the Garden City Garden Club just had a huge conference. I want to work more closely with those nonprofits that really support the city and help market their events. We've kind of done that already with a new initiative on the city's website. You can now, all those organizations can upload their calendars to our website. So when you go to ours, you can see their events and programmings. They have been using that. Actually, give a shout out. There's one person that uploads a lot of them for a lot of different programs. So they've been getting them in there. So that's really helpful having all that information. That alone opens up our eyes to say, oh, yep, there's a big event going on. What can we do to help market this and bring people to Garden City? We want to continue doing additional interviews and live Facebook segments. We've been doing that this past year. They're very successful when we have time to do them, so I want to keep doing that. And the big focus in the next few months is going to be that mobile app marketing plan and the SeeClickFix marketing plan. We want to make sure that we implemented those applications in time where staff had time to get used to them and learn how to use them before we went to market it, because we do believe there will be maybe an influx in reporting on that. And then, of course, continuing on the information desk and making that as best as it can be. Any questions for communications?
Council? Councilmember Dole.
I'm not sure if it's because I'm getting tired or because I'm turning into a popsicle up here, but
My fingers are
before
cold.
we get into the technology division, so you're saying the communications department is, we're expected it to cost just over $100,000 to run?
That's correct.
Okay, and that's not counting our contracts with, on the technology side?
No, so the technology
Skynet
division is represented in Department 265, our general government services. Technically already presented before, not really presented, but already included in a previous budget session. But with technology in the past year, I've done a lot to reduce those costs. I want to present those kind of today, but that's outside of, those costs are not in Department 177, which is communications. Those costs are completely separate.
Okay.
So that is just communications. That's running the website, SeeClickFix, staffing, obviously recording council meetings, broadcasting those, our equipment for that. And actually one of the largest costs is the website CMS for our website provider. That's one of our largest costs we pay out to.
You mentioned a second ago, Is Jake out of the communications budget or Parks and Rec? Or
Currently
are there
repres-
two Jakes?
Currently represented in this budget is 0.5 of myself and 0.5 of Jake.
Okay,
So we're a person, and then there's actually another full-timer. And that full-timer can be used either way, like whether we hire the full-timer or we continue with our part-time communications assistants, that bucket of money is the same. So we plan, because the additional cost would be hospitalization, like the medical and those type of comps you get as a full-time employee. So those are accounted for if we do that. But if we don't, we'll still have our communications assistants like we do today, assisting with our programs, facilities, and meetings and such like
Okay.
that.
how many assistants do you have? They're all part-time there. Are they half-time or less?
Yeah, very part-time, very minimal event-based, schedule-based. No one has dedicated hours. Previously, we did have 8 hours a week dedicated to video editing. That person actually got a job with a local news company, so he moved on. So we haven't filled that position in that weekly editing. So no one's guaranteed hours in communications. We're moving towards a pool of, if the departments combine, Parks, Recreation, Communications, a big pool of, not volunteers, that'd be nice, a big pool of part-timers that are cross-trained in all these different things. So when we have a large event, it doesn't necessarily have to be communications assistants coming in and doing all that video and audio. It can be our recreation assistants. So kind of moving towards that big pool of part-timers that can do these different things, whether it be the ice rink or Radcliffe. That's something we're actually doing now is we're taking some of our park attendants that won't be working this summer and some of our ice arena employees and kind of cross-training them at Radcliffe, how to answer phones and stuff like that. We haven't returned the favor yet. We haven't cross-trained Radcliffe employees at the ice arena, but we're getting there.
Okay, so the full-time position that's budgeted for is not technically filled yet,
No.
but it's all, okay, I
Yeah.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
those, that's, it works out to be kind of the same. The budget request last year was $50,000 for part-time assistants. We'll nowhere near use that within communications with what we've done this past year. But the same salary amount for the full-time would be close to that. So the only additional cost if we move that way would be the
Benefits.
comps, benefits.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions or comments for communications? All right, then we'll go to the technology division.
This is more of just a cost analysis. Like I said, the technology actually lives in Department, General Government Services 265, because they support all the departments in the city. Likewise to communications, but more so in the cost. We have a contractor, as you know, Skynet Innovations. We recently approved their contract. They handle all the services. I'm just essentially their point person with the city. So they do the network connectivity, they manage our software licenses, they manage our cybersecurity, our phone and fax services, which was previously the city's, but since we moved to the cloud is now in them, and then server management. Tech projects they did in this past year, and currently still ongoing, is the fire department network move. I completed a citywide technology inventory with HR to get our inventory back onto par. We reviewed the WOW and Comcast contracts. As you know, we brought those forward to you. Comcast stayed the same, but WOW was a big decrease in cost. We reviewed the Microsoft licenses types per department, again, reducing in a significant decrease in cost, and then identified cost-saving areas within the technology division. This is the Skynet team. Our account manager is Ty Dolan. You met him at our previous council meeting with the contract for Skynet coming forward. This is actually a new structure, so I kind of introduced this a little bit last budget season. This is fully implemented now, so this is something they're providing to the city. They have an entire project team. We all know Will and his dedication to the city. He is on the project team with Tim and Amanda. And then we have a new division, this ticket response. Doug Lee, he's the manager of all the different people actually doing the responses to our request. Our person we've seen the most lately, and a lot of city staff know, is Megan. She's been a great asset to Garden City. A lot of people tell Will that he's her replacement. She's good to be the Will's replacement in Garden City. So she's here every Tuesday. Actually, she's been in the city every day for the past 2.5 months working on Windows 11 upgrades and city needs. And then we have Jordan and David, who's been mostly remote. We also have an entire remote pod of staff that can help with like password resets and that quick stuff. And then we also, that phone vendor, we have support with him, Eric. Technology expenses. As you can see, we see a decrease almost across the board from 2025-26 budget to 2025 to 26 to 26-27. A lot of the stuff we've already brought to council before you and seeing those decreases in those contracts. And a lot of the decreases we've seen is just doing this analysis and seeing where we're spending money at and where we don't need to spend the money at, previously not being done. So Skynet Operations, we brought that cost down. I'll show you a little bit about that in a second. Network connectivity providers, that's WOW and Comcast. We brought that down. We recently brought that new contract in front of you for the next 5 years. Technology license, we've decreased that. That's mostly Microsoft Office. I did separate out Duo authentication because that's somewhat new. And this is the first fiscal year we're budgeting for it. Phone services, we're decreasing that. That cost has come down a bit. Also just reducing the phones we didn't need. And then antivirus and spam filters, that is staying the same. So an overall reduction in appropriations for the technology expenses. And like I said, all these actually are represented in 2 different GLs in general government services. So it's 265-809 is where the most of the stuff lives, and then the telephone stuff lives in 265-850.100 in your budgets. Reducing those counts, you can kind of see here, with the new device count, how Skynet allocates their devices, they only look at 3 things now right now, which makes it a lot easier for inventorying and decision-making city moving forward on when we need more networking or what we need to facilitate the city's technology needs. So personal computers and laptops is combined in one, now called workstations. We have 156 of them, a small decrease what we were at before. Physical servers, we saw a decrease in that. We're from 6 to 3, and then virtual servers were down 1 from 11 to 10. The other stuff is still active, so we still have 2 network firewalls, 1 enterprise backup, 85 wireless network equipment APs, or 23 network switching switches. Those are now included in the cost, so we're still keeping track of them, but no longer affect our bill as Skynet. Now it's that per device count that really matters. And some of that decrease in that device count is staff previously having a desktop and a laptop, moving to a docking station, now only carrying a laptop as your primary device and on the go, especially for department heads. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to identify cost-saving areas in the technology department, complete the fire station network reconfiguration. Actually, the police department and the court have reached out for computer replacement plans from Skynet, so they're working on building those with those departments. It looks like the courts can move forward with theirs doing full replacement this next period as he presented in his budget. And the police department's planning for that year-after-year replacements. And then currently they're working on a network topology project to kind of better document the network the city currently has. We went through, over the last 5 years, a big change in equipment. It wasn't all documented, so they're doing that now. Any questions?
Questions from the council? Table? Okay, very good, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Mr. King. And now I'll let you set that up. Might need a fire pit in here soon. All right. All right, next, our last but not least is Family Resource Center, and our director is Mr. Sean Hahn.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to make this relatively quick because we've been here for a long time and you're cold and I'm sleepy and we're going to get through this. So, our mission statement has stayed the same since last year. Actually, a lot has stayed the same since last year in our presentation here today because of the nature of grant funding for our program. There's not a whole lot of things that I actually have the ability to mess with. Our services have remained consistent since our last meeting. We are looking at doing some acquisition of some new grant opportunities to try to expand some services and offer some different things than we have in the past. But as it stands today, we are offering the same things that we were last year. We are partnering with the Radcliffe Tutoring Program, though, to ease some of our troubles with providing tutoring services. Instead of us doing it individually, we're able to have them participate through that other program, which is very helpful. Our funding comes in through the Wayne County YAP contract, which previously was referred to as CWW because the Conference of Western Wayne oversaw our funding and we were a subcontractor of the GrowthWorks organization. In this last year, we had the opportunity to apply for the same grant that GrowthWorks operates under, and we were able to get it separate from them, so we've been able to sort of cut out the middleman of the process, and that's helped us a lot with improving our revenue just from that source. So last year, we budgeted for about $100,000. I think we did about 65. Our average for CWW was always 65,000. So then this year, we can bill up to $250,000 on a fee-for-service model. Our 1/10 mill last year was also included in the $100,000 for child care fund for CWW funding. This year, it's been separated out because it is a completely separate funding source. It's through the Wayne County Jail millage. And then our first contact programming, we have reduced a little bit what our expected revenue for this year is. Largely, we've done that because with the increase in our ability to bill through the YAP contract, and there's some similarities between the services available between the two contracts, we're trying to even out our funding a little bit. We don't want to have all our eggs in one basket, so this is the first step towards balancing out how our funding is divided and how our programming is operated. Our current First Contact initiative is a 3-year grant totaling up to, well, now it's up to $5 million. Current ends May 31st, 2027, because they gave us the first of the 2 one-year extensions that they can do. So they have the opportunity at that point to extend again if they would like to, the Wayne County, that is. The Wayne County YAP is a 2-year grant which started in January, totaling up to $500,000 for the 2 years, and they have the ability to give us a 1-year extension 3 separate times. So they may choose to do that. Actually, just a little note on that. I pulled up Q1 from our CWW funding from last year, and in Q1, January, February, March, we did $7,667. This year, just with January and February, we've done over $15,000. So that just shows how we're having a little bit more control over the contract that we're in has helped us out with our funding opportunity through YAP. And then the 1/10 mill, we just talked about that. Our staff requirements, I know we talked about this at length last year, but essentially the county has a lot of very strict requirements for providing youth programming, especially in the arenas of prevention, intervention, and diversion. And so because of how strict the requirements are, we have to have a very highly qualified and highly trained staff. And I would put the Family Resource Center staff up against anybody doing this type of work anywhere in the country. And I'm pretty sure we would come out on top. We're an internship site. We have, you've seen this one before. Our budget information from 24-25, 25-26, our year to date, and our projected. Essentially, because our program is, the intention is to not have revenue or expenses. It's a net zero program. We do provide a significant amount of resources to the police department. So this year we are projecting somewhere around $280,000 to go towards staffing and police services relating to juvenile and youth. So when the officers that write tickets for youth, being able to offset some of the costs of things that we're already doing through the police department, but because they're benefiting our program, the grant can help to fund those things. So that's, instead of revenue, we have the in-kind service that we get with the police department. Any
Okay.
questions?
Council, any questions, comments for
Oh,
Mr. Hand?
I do have one more thing to add. We have expanded our service area just a little bit. We're still within Western Wayne County, but in the last couple of weeks, we've reached out to a few different police departments in other communities, one of them being Novi, and we received our first referral from them already this week. So Garden City youth and surrounding area youth that get in trouble at the mall or anywhere else up in that area, because it's a pretty popular place, we've started to receive referrals through Novi Police Department. And we have a meeting next week, or this week, tomorrow, Wednesday? Meeting Wednesday with the Inkster Police Chief to talk about some programming that we could potentially offer to their residents as well. So we're looking at doing a lot of different things at the Family Resource Center, including expanding opportunities to work with the rest of Parks and Rec to provide some more recreational opportunities also. And if you need help picking out stuff for that kitchen, you've got a staff person with 15 years of catering experience that can go to Restaurant Depot with you.
All right. Questions or comments?
Mayor, I'd just like to thank you, Sean, for all the things you do for these children. I wish there was a program like this when I was young. It would have saved me a lot of money and trouble. Thank you.
We do our best. Thank you.
Oh, Mayor,
Go ahead, Councilmember Dole.
Dearborn Heights program still moving forward, or?
So Dearborn Heights had a change in mayor and a changeover in a significant percentage of their administrative staff, including police chief. So everything is still moving. It's moving a little slower than we expected when we first started. We do have one of their 3 school districts that we're actively working with and getting referrals from. We're working with their school resource officers. We also, because we have that meeting with the Inkster police chief, they have a shared school district. Some of the Dearborn Heights schools are in Inkster proper. So that's going to also help to get that conversation going back up again. So it is moving. It's just moving a little slower than we thought.
Okay. Just curious.
Other comments from the table? Councilmember Hughes.
I want to thank you for what you do, and I think it's just, it's a great reason for people to live in Garden City, is to know that they have that support for their youth. I've not seen any programs like this before, and it's a great program.
Thank you.
Comments?
Mayor,
Councilmember Dole.
I just want to thank everyone that showed up tonight and gave us their presentation. It was a lot of information, but it's all here, so thank you.
Further comments here. Again, same as Councilmember Dole, I want to thank all our department heads, last meeting, this meeting, a lot of information, a lot of good stuff. I think we're moving in the right direction, and thank you for all the presentations and giving us all the info we need. At this time, anybody from the public wishing to speak? Okay, no public comment at this time. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.